Okay, and we are now live for the very first time ever running trains down here in the basement of the new house. First time I've done a live stream down here. A lot of effort has gone into just getting the layout kind of to what it is, obviously moving everything over here if you saw that video. But anyway, being that we are now at the end of November, I thought I would do a special live stream and do this in honor of Movember. Now, Movember, for anybody that doesn't know, is a charity, and Movember, it's a basically an awareness month for men's issues like prostate and testicular cancer, as well as men's mental health in general. So I'm going to quickly connect the charity, and we'll do a bit of a fundraiser. Because, yeah, part of Movember is actually growing out a bit of a mustache there, and, even the big boy is rocking one. So, yeah, I'll just quickly get this actually hooked up to the live stream. I already set things up in the background here, but that should appear. I'm glad you're back. It's good to be back. So, I'm going to try to change the lighting settings on the phone, but let me get the charity going here. Edit, continue, and then it should work here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I think the charity's hooked up. Let me know if you can see it, and I'll see if I can get this to get the colors to balance out. I don't know what's going on there. Retouch doesn't seem to change anything. Setup appraised. Love your fixing videos. Thank you. First live stream in a while. It has been a while. It's the first time things have been operational. Hype Cat72. Thank you for joining the Well Folks Club. And SusDog21 says the charity is working, so that is awesome. Ronald says, great, Harrison. I got through prostate cancer. Thanks for your job. Well, that's very happy that you succeeded at defeating it. And we actually had a close family friend get it, and he's mostly through it now, the treatment. But it's an important issue, so I think it's a good cause. Do you have plans with the layout? Oh, there's lots of plans. Let me get into them. I'll take this coat off because I'm getting warm. Yeah, so my plan for the layout, obviously, since the last video, I built all this. This is actually going to be in a future video, but since this was the last day of November, I wanted to do this live stream for the charity, which is why this live stream is happening before the video on building all of this is out. But the plan for the future is I want to put benchwork all along that wall. It will probably stick out maybe a foot and a half. I want to pull this layout forward, get this guy operational again, and then after that, the plan is to connect the benchwork to the L of the layout, because we're definitely going to be building something for that. So I don't know. There's going to be some cool stuff. I've been messing around with things in Rail Modeler Pro. A lot of people have been suggesting that I add a Y, and that might end up happening because if I have bench work running here and possibly on that wall right there, what I could do is with the L of the layout, I could have like a bridge and then it splits off and one track goes this way and one track goes the other way. Because the bench work I think is going to have some industries, but it's primarily going to be sort of like a staging yard. Lots of room to store full-length trains. Are you moved in? Not fully. I have, I've slept a few nights here, but this house was borderline abandoned when I bought it. It had no electricity. The heater is not operable. The wood stove was condemned, so I couldn't do that either. So it was pretty cold, and it overall just was not in great shape. Slowly getting things working. I just got a brand new wood stove installed, so I've been using that to heat the house. Tomorrow they're supposed to come in and do the HVAC. That way we can actually get heat in here again. But yeah, it's getting there. Where do I donate? It should be on the side of the live stream. Will the ravine make a return? I'm pretty sure it will. It unfortunately did get quite damaged during the move, but yeah, I'll see. To get snow recently, we've got lots of snow. We probably got about 5 inches of snow. I was actually out snow blowing my driveway for the first time before I started this live stream. I knew I wasn't going to be missing the first live stream of the house. Somebody anonymously made a donation to the Movember Foundation, so whoever that is out there, thank you for your contribution. It is appreciated. The snow in Buffalo is crazy. Yeah, well, with the lakes out there, it seems to whip up pretty bad. I experienced that when me and Chloe went down to Cincinnati earlier this year. Holy crap. Can we get a house tour? Eventually I will do one. At the moment, the place is a little bit of a nightmare. There's stuff that I've moved over from my parents' place to here, and overall it's just not looking good. Again, there was a lot of this house that was looking pretty rough. I ripped out most of the kitchen the other day because there was a lot of nastiness there with mice getting in and stuff and silverfish, so. But things are getting better around here. Still got the subway set. Yeah, I was trying to run that on the inside track. I don't know if the track oxidized from not operating it for a while, but this has been struggling a little. Is this addition permanent or just temporary? It's just temporary, just because this was an incomplete circuit, and unfortunately the not the mountain layout, but the industrial layout was in such worse condition than I was expecting. I couldn't just reconnect the two right away, so my plan for this is basically I want to take off both the homosote and I also want to take off the actual top of the table, put a real 4x8 sheet of plywood over that, and raise it. Because part of the problem I've been having is not just that the homosote is delaminating from the layer of wood beneath it, but the layer of wood beneath it is also warped and stuff, so it's kind of like bad on top of bad. So I'd just like to get a fresh start, probably put down some OSB, and just be done with it. What's going to happen to your other scales? They'll be added on eventually. I just want to, because the other scales, I would like to build a layout for them, but I first want to figure out what I'm doing with the HO layout. My girlfriend wants to know if you're still in the same area. I'm in the same city now, still as my parents, but different part, kind of in a little bit of a quieter location, a little more off the beaten path, where it's cheaper. I'm sold on foam. If you have plans on moving the layout again, build it out of foam board. It does work well. I've used it for that. I'm just thinking for attaching it to this table. I don't know if it would be as good because it has to extend out so far. We'll see. The subway is sitting there. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about earlier. It just keeps stalling. I don't know if this has dirty wheels or if it's the layout, but something's kind of cattywampus there. Weird cardboard thing on front of the big boy. Ah, that's a mustache for Movember. What happened to the Hershey factory? It's still at my parents' place. I haven't moved it over. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with that. It makes me the most nervous to move it out of all the layouts, because it's built a very specific way, so if something happens to it, getting it back together is going to be difficult. But I don't know, we'll see. You kept the lamps. I was wondering what was happening to them. Yeah, I feel like they're kind of a staple of the channel. Those aren't going anywhere. Will the P.O. box change? No. Still open. Remains the same. Are you using brass track or nickel silver, mix of both? Everything on this side of the layout, with the exception of this side track, which isn't connected, is all nickel silver. I pretty much only use nickel silver on main lines. I do use some brass track for sets, like lines that aren't used as much. But ideally you want to use nickel silver, but brass can be a good way to save money if you just have some lines that, you know, you're only going to be using like once a month. SMT, are you okay? Or you sound a little sick? I'm fine. I had a flu a few days ago, unfortunately. No idea how I got that, but yeah, that's how she goes sometimes. Cool to see the subway again. Yeah, if I could just get the darn thing to actually operate on this layout, it'd be nice. What was the main reason for moving to the new house? I just wanted to kind of move ahead with my life. I've been looking for a house for quite a long time, but you know, I'm 24 years old. I wanted to finally move out, and I think it's going to be a good thing. I mean, I love my family to bits. They're wonderful. Like, I couldn't be luckier to have them, but truth be told, trying to run a YouTube channel out of the basement created tension because, you know, if they were upstairs and making noise, it would sometimes interrupt the videos, and vice versa. You know, sometimes they didn't want to interrupt me making a video, so they'd be being quiet. So there was always some, you know, just tension there, understandably. So having my own space where I can record whenever I want and not have to worry about that, I think is a good thing. And it's also good for, you know, like the other projects I have outside of the channel, like my boat part business and a lot of the other machines I work on. Maybe get a cat. I'm not close to getting a cat. I would definitely like one in my life again, but not for a while. Just want to let things stabilize here, and then we'll see. Maybe I'll adopt one. DB Tech, welcome. What are the dimensions of the mountain layout? I think it's a 9 by 3.5. It's kind of an irregular size. I would probably make it a 4 by 9, just so you could use wider curves on it. What are your plans for storing locomotives? It's going to be exactly the same as it was before. I've already got this shelf right here over, and I've got this guy here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put up the white shelf right here, the brown shelf here. This is going to be a door, and then I think I'm going to turn this into like a mail room. I'll have some sort of an access point probably behind the American and Quebec flag, and we'll have the Canadian flag here. How's Nerfcat? Nerfcat, for anybody who doesn't know, is unfortunately no longer with us. He passed away about 3 weeks ago. What do you think of the Bachmann Digital Commander starter set? If you can find one cheap, I think it's a decent value for your money, but I probably wouldn't pay more than $250 for one, because the controllers in those sets are pretty old. They kind of limit you on how many trains you can actually run, so that's not so good. And the stuff in that set is not very high quality. Like, I feel like if you really want to just get into DCC right away, better just to save up a little bit more and just go out and buy yourself up a proper DCC controller. What other businesses do you run? Well, I got the boat part business. I'll build Kia furniture for people. I do a lot of odd jobs and things like that. GFW trains, welcome. Does the big boy you're running take DC or DCC? This one was always DCC. I think somebody installed it. They didn't do a very good job, so I had to rewire a lot of stuff. Most of the River Rossi ones out there are likely DC because they were made in the 70s and 80s. What brand of track do you use? I'm trying to find something to switch from Bachmann's steel track. I always use nickel silver. The brand is not incredibly important, but personally, I mostly use Atlas for the curves and the straights. Almost all my switches are by Pico. I prefer the Pico switches. I find they're more reliable. Heard a lot of good things about Kato Unitrack, but I still have to actually try working with it, just to get more of a feel. Do you know French? Not very well. What's a good affordable DC controller? Probably like an MRC Tech 2. You can find some pretty cheap. A mailroom elaborate. We got a yard to the layout for storing cars. Yeah, so that's probably what's going to happen with the bench work. As for the mailroom, I'm thinking, because I order a lot of stuff off eBay and stuff for all the unboxing videos I do on the channel, so I was thinking I could just have some shelves just to store all the boxes. Just kind of organize everything. I got a male Maine Coon cat that's smoky black, and I named him Big Boy. I love it. Hey, SMT. I have a small HF scale OVO, but I'm going to get a new set soon with railroad crossings and stuff. Just wondering what kind of track you're using. Almost all Atlas snap track and Pico switches. Code 100 nickel silver. How's the new house doing for you? Pretty good. It's getting better. I was talking about that earlier. Just got a new wood stove installed. Tomorrow we're supposed to get some HVAC people in here. A lot hip-hopping happening. I've been here since 800 subscribers. I can't believe how large the channel has gotten. The first time on a live stream in like 2 years. Well, welcome back, and thanks for sticking around the channel so long. That's quite a long time. I think you need an Australian flag. I'd be willing to add one. Thank you so much for the super chat, Rail U9MW. What about Atlas track? Yeah, Atlas is good. The switches are not as great in my opinion, but they'll get the job done. Greetings from Southern California. Good to see you again. Welcome back. Kato Unitrack has some benefits. It also has a few problems. It's not as easy to make look realistic and it can tough to customize. That's one thing. My main concern is that it's code 83 and I operate code 100. Now I've heard that modern code 83 is actually quite compatible even with older rolling stock. So, you know, if you're only running modern stuff with smaller flanges, you shouldn't have to worry about that. But I'm just thinking from the perspective of somebody who runs a lot of old equipment. If the switches, which are code 83, can't handle it, that's going to be a problem. So I bought a ton of Kato track, and I'm going to try it out, see what it's like, and I'll be honest. We'll see if it's good. Trains are running smooth, no problems. Yeah, the the subway seems to have sorted itself out. The other two have been working well, so that's good to see. Ottawa HO Track is apparently having their setup at the Science and Technology Museum in Ottawa. You should go check it out. I probably will at some point. I know that Mark from M&M Rails was there. He's a member of the club, and he was doing a live stream running some of his trains around. I'm friends with quite a few people that are part of that train club. I don't know if I could sneak on in and run some trains myself. I don't know if they'd let me do that or not, but that would be kind of cool if I could do like a bit of a meet and greet. I could actually bring out some trains and do a bit of a running sesh with some people. got a Mint Bachmann AC64 Amtrak Veterans loco with Wow Sound on Amazon Warehouse for $300 under MSRP yesterday. Put Katie's on it, runs like a dream. Well, that's great to hear. What a deal. Glad to hear it worked out too. I find Amazon Warehouse for model trains can be hit or miss. I've got some good deals, but most of the stuff is in far worse condition. I just think because the people at Amazon might not know where on a model to look for damage. Whatever happened to the Shikansen? Did you ever fix the warped cars? I kind of did. I did so to the best of my abilities. I still have it. I think it's still at my parents' place, but I'll get it over here eventually. The layout doesn't look like itself anymore. I think that's just because a lot of the lighting hasn't been rewired. It's going to look better once we get the mountain and everything there. My mom worked at the Smith Falls Hershey factory in the 1970s. Glad to hear you have your own house at 24. That's impressive these days. Yeah, for sure. That's really cool. I've heard some people who have said that they visited the Hershey factory, but it's nice to hear from somebody who actually had family working there. You should buy the N-Scale CSX starter set from Kato. Another question, how large should an HO layout be? If you have the space, I think a 4x8 is a good place to start. If you have more room, though, you know, take up as much room as you have to give it. The more room, the better. But, you know, I understand in some cases people are living in apartments or, you know, they're living in their parents' house and trying to run train channels from the basement. So in those cases, you know, you have to kind of figure out like what a practical size is. But if you can fit a 4x8, it will do well. Cardboard on the big boy. Yeah, it's a Movember mustache. The MRC Tech 2 is now cheap. Tech 2 and the other Power Series models are not the same, even though they look similar. My Kato SD40-2 just bricked. It had lock sound decoder in it. The decoder heats up on the rails for around 20 seconds while watching the live stream. Well, it's probably fixable, but usually when a decoder goes bad, in my experience, it's not actually because the decoder itself went bad, it's because the motor is having an issue. So I find what happens is the commutator on the motor gets dirty, the current draw goes high, and when the motor fails, it takes the decoder out with it. I've seen that happen on some modern engines. Finally, an update on the new house. Yeah. Are you going to set up the N-scale layout at the new house? I think so. I haven't decided where that's going to go yet, but there are other rooms in this house, so there are some options. One idea I was having too is possibly with the benchwork having a line that runs along this wall and it would disappear behind the flags, and then there's a drain here for something, so we've actually got this hole in the wall which goes through to the laundry room. So I was thinking I could do something pretty crazy. And then beside the laundry room is the furnace room, so I could run trains through the furnace room, back through this room right here, and then it would connect back to the benchwork, making a massive rectangle. I liked how the cashiers at the Hershey factory always put extra candy bars in your bag. I didn't remember that, to be completely honest, but One thing that everybody always seems to remember about going to the Hershey factory is that you could buy broken chocolate bars in bulk. And I've heard from some workers that apparently the broken chocolate bars were such a popular item that there were days where the factory workers would actually intentionally break bars just because they meant so much to a lot of the customers. Kind of a nice story. Back in 1989, my parents had just met each other, and one of their dates was going out to Smith Falls to see the Hershey factory, and they bought a bag of broken bars and a gallon of milk, one of the local convenience stores, and went out to the Rideau Canal and watched boats going by, drinking milk and eating broken chocolate bars. At least 38 inches wide for 18 radius curves. Yeah, and I think part of the reason a lot of layouts are 4 feet wide is because if you use a 4 foot wide layout, you can actually have 22 radius. If you go wider than that, you can have 24 radius, and the wider the radius, the better things are going to perform, and the more equipment you can run. Are you bringing back your old layout? Well, it's getting there. This is further gone than I was hoping for, but we'll see. Just wanted to let you know that next Saturday, December 6th, is National Lionel Train Day, according to my Lionel branded calendar. I didn't know that. It's nice. Maybe I should do some sort of a Lionel special. I actually have a Lionel Polar Express, which I've been meaning to unbox, so maybe I'll try to aim to have that video out for that time. Harrison is right, decoders don't usually fail on their own. Well, I'm not personally like an expert on decoders, but I know some guys who are actually certified by some of the manufacturers, and what they were telling me is that if a decoder is bad, like it's defective, it's going to be bad right out of the box. And one trick that you can use to tell if the decoder is bad is to power it up very slowly. But most of the time when a decoder is having a problem, it's because there's a short circuit in the system and it's not wired to deal with that. Like when I wired up my Tyco Sentry 430, it actually ended up destroying its sound decoder. It turned out the problem was not the locomotive's motor, it was the headlight. The headlight was drawing too many amps, and it was too much of a load for the decoder to take. So even though it was separate from the motor, it still ended up preventing the engine from running correctly. Anyway, I disconnected the headlight, put a new decoder in it, and over a year later, it's still running fine. So there's a lot that can go wrong. That's part of the reason I really like DC is that you don't have to worry about that stuff as much. How bad do you think this winter will be? They're saying it might be comparable to the winter of 2013 here in Ohio. I really don't know. I can tell you that compared to the previous winters, it's weird that we already have snow on the ground. I find usually the pattern around here is that we get no snow until Christmas, and then after the first day of January, all hell breaks loose and we've got like 4 feet. So the fact we already have snow on the ground in November, I think, is probably a sign that it's gonna pile up. But I'm willing to take on the winter a little bit more this year. I bought a snowblower for this place, so got a method to get rid of the snow here, which hopefully will be quite cost effective. And I also managed to find an old snowmobile on Facebook Marketplace, which I'm pretty jazzed about because part of the reason I've never personally been a very big winter guy is because during the summer it's the trains and the boat and the car. Like that's kind of what I'm working on when I'm not running the trains. I'm outside and I just love that stuff. But then winter comes around, I put the boat and the Oldsmobile in storage, and I'm just down here working on the trains. I don't really have as much of a incentive to get outside, so I'm hoping with the snowmobile can get out and wrench on that thing and have some fun with it. Don't build tracks over And block accessories to access to heaters and water tanks. Yeah, of course not. You could do a slide out end scale layout under the HO. I like that idea, David. I feel like I might consider that. It could go under the mountain layout. That would be nice. You have a lot of shelving work to do. Yeah, for sure. The good news is that I've got this shelf, which actually came with the house, and I feel like that would be terrific storage for locomotives. I don't know if I'm going to keep it at that spot, but we'll see. If you ever get a chance to go to Strasbourg, I haven't been there before. I'd like to, though. They had big glass dispensers for small chocolate, and you could scoop the broken bars. Broken bars are still sold at the bulk stores. Okay, I didn't know that. I know the dispensers you're talking about, though. Just donated to the fundraiser. Well, thank you, Treyman98. Hopefully it appears here. Any thoughts on a drive rod breaking on an HO steam engine? Well, unless you dropped it or something, that's usually a sign that the wheels have become unquartered or something. So, I mean, that's an annoying problem to have, but I would, if you're going to try to fix it, I would check to make sure there isn't another underlying issue causing that. What's your favorite brand of locomotive? Probably Athearn. Today, they're not a very big innovator, but they do have a very good track record of making good products. I have owned a ton of blue boxes, and I even have some modern Athearn, and they seem pretty reliable. The sound quality on my new Via Athearn engine is just terrific, so I like them. But I'm not terribly brand loyal. Like, I'm also a pretty big fan of Walthers. I find their products are good. Like, you can buy some fairly cost-effective Walthers units. Cato's very good. Atlas, I find, is not as common a brand for locomotives, but I've never had a bad Atlas engine. Every Atlas, new or old, that I've had has been super reliable. My mom told us staff the lunchroom at Hershey's would always have a pile of free chocolate fresh off the line. It was supposed to get you sick of the taste of chocolate. I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like working in a chocolate factory would be fun for like a week, and then you'd be done with it. It's funny because I used to work in a factory where we were making like pre-prepared meals, and they were always shredding up oregano. Now every time I smell oregano, it tastes like I'm eating a part of my like work. It's weird. And that was like 5 years ago, and every time I try to have some oregano, it's just it you know, like, I don't know, maybe the office where you work or something has a distinctive smell. For me, the factory was oregano, and now it's just been ingrained in my head. Snowmobile video when? I don't know. Maybe I'll make a video on it. I should probably just make a secondary channel where I work on boats and cars and snowmobiles. I'm not as good with combustion engines as I am model trains, but I've been learning. So, I don't know. Things are running pretty smooth, especially after the total move. I only planned out my layout from one room to another. It's been stagnant for Siles. Go Bills. We'll miss your old layout. Well, the new one is going to be very similar. I mean, it's got a lot of the same structure, so I wouldn't be too worried. It's not going to be a night and day difference. It's going to be a new and improved version of the previous layout. And the streetcar stopped again. Random Razor, come on, 200K before the new year. Yeah, let's hope. You never know. Speaking of brands, what's your opinion on the IHC GG1? If you have any, is it good for beginners? I have one, but I bought it in really poor condition. It seems to run okay, even though it wasn't treated well, but I suspect if you find one in good condition, it should be fine. IHC is a pretty good brand, in my opinion. Oh, it derailed. Oh. Haha. The screw wiggled its way out, dropped the coupler, and then the engine ran over its own coupler box and derailed. That's funny. Okay, and there's Trainman's donation for Movember. Thank you so much for the donation of $20. And Onion Zeller, thank you for the donation of $5. How's it feel to be a homeowner? Generally really good. I think it's cool, but I don't know. There's also some kind of a stressful side to it. Like, every time I go out to run errands, I'm thinking about the place. Like, is it okay? And experiencing paying all the bills for the first time is interesting. It's crazy how fast those stack up. I was expecting that, but when you're actually paying them, it's different. It's probably going to get a lot worse once I get the electric heater going, but I will say so far the electric bill has been pretty cheap. Over the last 2 months, I've only used about $50 of electricity, so I feel like that's pretty good. Again, I'm sure it's going to go up once I'm here more often, but I'm trying to kind of keep the place efficient. Streetcar dirty wheels. Yeah, I think it's more likely the track, but you never know. Isn't IHC and Mahano the same company? Well, I think IHC might have been contracting Mahano to build them locomotives, so they were IHC branded engines, but they were actually made by Mahano. But I think IHC might have also sold some other brands, kind of like how Walthers has their house brand, but they also have other brands which they sell. IHC is almost the same quality as Athearn, in my opinion. I would say so. I think that they made better steam engines than Athearn, but yeah, Athearn definitely had the edge in terms of diesels. Thank you so much for the donation to Movember 2 Up Cruiser 709. What's your favorite no longer around brand? Probably Lifelike Proto. They were basically off-brand Athearns. They were very good, and for the time, huge innovation in terms of detail. I think another one for me would just be Lifelike. They were not high-quality engines, but relatively reliable for the money, and I think that they were a really good brand for beginners. You need to call your hypothetical second channel SMT branch line. Yeah, that would be good. SMT branch line or SMT short line. Thank you for the super chat, trains and more. Run a double-headed steam train with passenger cars. I'll see what I can do. I don't have all my engines over here. I put them all on this table for now, but we'll look through. I might be able to double-head a couple of these Bachmans. I think that's what I'll do. Now that you moved, do you plan to rewire the layout? So far, I have done a little bit of rewiring, at least for the controllers, but yeah, there's going to be some more rewiring going on. At least for the lighting system, I want to make it a lot better, because some of the lighting system dates back to work I was doing when I was like 12 years old, and I was a kid. I was just kind of fooling around with it, and I didn't do great work on that, so I would like to go through and actually redo it properly so the lights don't flicker and stuff. Are you going to miss Nerf Cat? Oh, I miss him a great deal, but I feel pretty at peace with the whole thing. I mean, you know, I'm never gonna forget him, that's for sure. But at the same time, too, he lived awesome life. I mean, we cared for him so much, and he brought so much joy into our lives. And, you know, those memories are going to be around forever. And, you know, for a cat, he did an awful lot, not just for us as a family, but, I mean, the amount of people, you know, here on the channel who seem to have an affinity for him, and some of the videos he was in, one of which went kind of viral, like, you know, for a cat, I feel like he brought a lot of good to this world. So that's one thing I'm happy for. Have you thought about manufacturing some sort of train product, maybe like your own 3D printed rolling stock, chassis, or some sort of miniature woodwork with the scale buildings? Maybe so. I'm not really an expert on 3D printing. Like, I've made some parts. For the time being, I've just been throwing the parts I've been designing up on Thingiverse. That way people can just download them for free. I don't think I'm ever going to make any locomotives or rolling stock, but I don't know. Maybe at some point I'll start selling some buildings or something like that. Is the loop temporary? Yeah, this is just to get it operational again. There's going to be much more to come. This is just to get part of the layout rolling again. Thank you for the super chat, Old Bay Rail fan. Will you have an SMT Xmas display contest? Probably so. How was Thanksgiving? Well, Canadian Thanksgiving happens in October, so that was a while ago, but it was good. Are you gonna get another cat? Eventually, not anytime soon. Nerf cat brought joy to a lot of people. Yeah, and yeah, I'm so proud of him for that. I hope we get to see Airsoft Cat. After Nerf Cat, it's Airsoft Cat. And then I don't know what the third cat would be, 22 gauge? Just looking for my other tender. I don't know why I decided to only throw one of them in that box. Airsoft isn't a bad name for a cat. It's kind of funny. A cat named BB. Well, I don't know where that other tender has gone, so we're gonna still couple these up somehow, but I don't think that these engines actually have real front couplers, so we're gonna have to kind of MacGyver this. A cat named Snowball, that'd be cute. Paintball cat. Jessie the cat, I like that. X-Ray 111, thank you so much for your donation to Movember. Let the cat choose you. It's usually how it works out. I don't know if everybody knows this, but we never bought Nerf Cat. We never went to like an adoption place or anything like that. What happened was he was our neighbor's cat, and she was a sweetheart. She was a nice lady, but I think she kind of adopted cats from places. But she had a lot of them and a dog, and so I don't think he was very happy living there. So he kind of just moved in with us. But one thing we found out about him recently is that when she picked him up from the SPCA, they picked him because he was on the glass with all four paws. And they're like, yeah, I think this one wants to leave here the most. So, yeah, it's nice, nice getting to hear that from her. And another anonymous donation for $5 to Movember. Thank you for the donation. Whoops. Yeah, this is not going well. I'm just going to throw the other one on the track, and we'll hope that they keep a similar pace, because I don't know how else I'm going to end up getting this to work. It just doesn't have a real coupler on the front, so... Well, let's run it like that anyhow. What brand of daylight steam locomotive should I get? I don't really have a preference, to be honest. I own a few Bachmann ones, and they've been okay, but you have to have really good track, otherwise they derail a lot. So, just keep that in mind if you buy a Bachmann one. And Trains and More, thank you so much for the super chat. My local railroad museum is the actual town's visitor center and has a massive N-scale layout. I like running my trains. It also has DCC. Oh, it's cool that you run them there. I'm planning on having the Pennsylvania Railroad S1 in my collection. Apparently I need at least 30 radius curves for that. What are those curves called? I don't know what they mean. I don't know if I've ever worked with 30 radius curves, but you need to have a pretty wide layout for that, because even for 22s you need 4 feet, so for 30 radius, I think the radius is like halfway, so for 30, I think you would need 60 inches of layout, plus another 2 inches just so that, you know, you have space beside each of the rails. I'm not sure, to be completely honest, if you would need 30 radius for an S1. If anybody knows, you can correct me on that, but I think since it's, I believe it's an articulated engine, if you can run a big boy on 22s, then I feel like that should work fine. Yeah, 30 radius, I don't know, you can buy a gauge which sets out the radius, because maybe what they mean is that you lay 30 radius out with a gauge using FlexTrack. And thank you to whoever donated $20 for Movember. The Chessie Cat is already taken by a train buff on YouTube. I don't think you can really, you know, take the name of a railroad. I mean, if that's their thing, I wouldn't want to, like, encroach on that. But, like, the Chessie system's a big railroad. You can't just call your channel, like, Chessie Rails or something and then say, oh, it belongs to me. It's Lionel's 125th anniversary this year. Do a video on that Polar Express would be perfect. That's good to know. Do you still have the SMT engine? I do, but it's not here. No, these guys are keeping pretty good pace from each other. The steamers have smoke units. One of them does, the other doesn't. No idea why. I don't know if you could get options for Bachmann engines back in the day, but it's weird because the drivetrain otherwise is identical. This settles at the train, different channel going to train shows to be called SMT OCS. What does OCS stand for? Hey, there we go, the double-headed steam train. Just as requested. It gets derailing. Maybe not. Watch one of those roll off the layout. If possible, you should make the Christmas competition prize a DCC engine. Also, does the winner pay the shipping and stuff? No, there's not any expenses associated with the giveaway. I always cover off the cost of shipping. The only thing you might have to pay is sometimes customs charges duties when the package arrives, but that's it. Take both those off and run something else before we have a derailment. You can buy a cool called a Traxetta. That sets all the radius for you. They come in all the popular radii. I like the name, the Traxetta. If you make a donation, it pauses the site. How strange. That's funny. And Alex's dad donated $20 to Movember. I've met so many people with a cat named Chessie. I think it's basically a cliche to name your cat Chessie if you're into trains. I get it, it's cute, but yeah, I agree. I feel like I've heard that a couple times before. Is there a Miss SMT or a fiance SMT, or is she cool with you taking over the basement in the new place? I have a girlfriend. We're not engaged, but yeah, I mean, I'm paying the mortgage right now, so as far as I'm concerned, whatever bad things I do to this house are currently my problem. But she tends to be pretty supportive, so I feel like that's not going to be a problem. Sorry if this has been answered already, but what's going to happen to the Hershey factory? I don't know. It's possible I might end up adding it onto this layout, but what I'm really hoping for is that with Hershey's hopefully coming back to Smith Falls, I can lease it to them indefinitely at no cost and actually put it on display. Or if the Smith Falls Heritage Museum would ever want to display it, again, with a free lease, I'd be willing to do that. So we'll see. Did you scrap the lifelike $100,000 video? It hasn't been recorded yet, but yeah, I don't know how you know about that engine. Are you the seller? I bought a $100,000 lifelike engine off eBay, and I keep getting questions about it, but I don't remember mentioning it, so I'm not sure how so many people seem to know about it. The only thing I can figure is that whoever the seller was knew it was me buying it, and then told everybody. Do you like the new house? Also, condolences to Nerf Cat. I do like the new house. It's needing a lot of love, but it feels good to just get things operational again. Like, this place was really run down when I got in here, and every day it just feels like things are actually starting to become alive, and it's becoming like a healthier environment. Did you consider the attic as a space for your train setup, not as big as the basement? The attic has really low roofs, and I don't really want to hang around in the attic. I don't think there's asbestos, but you never know. Do you plan on setting your layout in a certain decade? Not really. It's gonna be like a old town, but in present day, I think. The S2 is not articulated and 30 radius is reasonable. Well, it's good to know. I've never seen an engine that can't run on 22, but maybe that's an exception. I can tell you that for any locomotive, the wider the curves, it is going to work better, but you know, they also said that for the big boy, you couldn't operate it on anything smaller than 22s, and I've managed to get it to operate on 15 radius before, so I feel like a lot of that is more of a guideline. Did you ever film anything with the Lifelike $100,000 anniversary logo? No, it's still in its box. I want to film a video about that. It might end up being an April Fool's, saying I bought a $100,000 Lifelike engine. I don't know why it's called the $100,000 Lifelike engine. I tried to do some research on like what kind of promotion it was for. It might have been Lifelike's 25th anniversary, but I'm not sure about that. If anybody does know why Lifelike released an engine that was called the $100,000 engine and had a special paint scheme, post it in the comments. The Hershey layout should be in the living room. That's a nice idea. $100,000 Lifelike engine. Yeah, that's what it was called, and that's also what it was listed on eBay for. I didn't pay $100,000 for it because the seller was allowing offers, but that's what it was listed as, which is crazy because in Canadian dollars, that's like, I don't know, 130 or 40,000. There's a Lifelike engine worth $100K. It was sold as a $100,000 engine. I have no idea why. We'll try to get this coming around the mountain engine going. The layout needs a Nerf cat statue. Somebody sent me a Nerf cat statue to 3D print, so I'll probably end up doing that. We'll add that on somewhere. Yeah, he definitely deserves that. Do you have any Via trains? I'm old enough to have ridden the LRCs when they were new. Would have loved to have ridden one of the turbos. I do have some Via stuff. I don't know if my LRC engine has been brought over here yet or not, but I could see. I'm sure I have at least one Via engine around here somewhere. Yeah, I love the LRCs. This is my goal, possibly for the snowmobile, is to, if I can't fix the cover, I'll replace it. The hood on it's damaged. But it kind of has, the 80s snowmobiles kind of have the same sort of pitch as an LRC, so I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a snowmobile, but with an LRC paint scheme? So they have the headlight in the middle, just like the LRC. I don't know, I feel like we could do something kind of funny. And they were both made by Bombardier, so it's not even weird for it being on brand. If there is asbestos in the attic, better hope the little tykes don't get up there. I don't think any kids could climb up there. It's the only way to get up to the attic is through a hatch, and there's no staircase, so you need to set up a ladder, and it might be screwed in place, honestly. What do you think of Ferromex? I don't know a whole lot about it, other than that it's one of Mexico's railroads. You do see some Ferromex cars. I saw a couple the other day when I was in Smith Falls, but yeah, I really don't know a whole lot. I think a Nerf cat video is necessary. I might end up doing a tribute, I don't know. Even putting together that post a month ago was a little bit heart-wrenching though, so I don't know, it might be a little too soon. I also, unfortunately, my phone stopped working. It just wouldn't start one day. I have no idea why. That probably had a couple hundred videos of Nerf cat. I'm not even exaggerating. Like, there's probably like 200 videos of Nerf cat on there. So I'm gonna need to get that restored if I ever want to, because I have some other videos that have never been seen on the channel of Nerf cat doing funny things, and I'm sure people would like it. Did the Waffle House stay open during the move process? Yeah. And the Waffle House has found its new host. Maybe it was the candy bar paint scheme. The $100,000 $100,000 Lifelike engine. It looks almost exactly like Lifelike's regular Amtrak engine, but it's very, like, it's got a chrome silver. How much did you buy it for? I think it was 60 bucks. If the house has vermiculite, I don't know if I'm saying that right, or fiberglass is a problem too. Yeah, fiberglass I know is not as dangerous as asbestos, but it's still not great stuff to breathe in. I actually had to remove a wall right here. It had pretty modern fiberglass, it's just the bright pink stuff, but I was still wearing like a respirator and gloves and everything like that. Do you have any LRT or trams? I do have some. I don't know if they're here. I'll have to look through again. I only have a limited amount of my collection over here at the moment. The PRRS one was not articulated, and it's even larger than the big boy with a rigid wheelbase of 64 feet. Seems 30 radius would be needed. Huh. Is your dad's old Lifelike going back on display? Oh, absolutely. What's your opinion on freelance model railroads? I like them. It's kind of how I've built everything. A little bit of planning and then just make it up. The LRC snowmobile. Yeah. Yeah, get the blue and yellow stripes with like kind of a grayish background. I think it would look awesome. If the April Fool's video is real, it better have the most comically photoshopped thumbnail ever. Thumbnail made it better. 10 arrows pointing at random pieces of red circles around things. I think I would just say I bought $140,000 Lifelike engine. Everyone be like, what the hell? Either Google or Bing. I've looked for it. I could not find any information on it. I found some pictures of some other ones for sale, but that's all I know. Which is weird, because usually sites like HO Seeker have information on these like kind of obscure pieces, but it must be pretty rare. I'm thinking that it could have been a product made in a very small batch, maybe for executives at the company or something. I really don't know anything about it. But it had to have been part of some small promotion. If the Waffle House closes, you're done for. Yeah, exactly. The Waffle House needs to remain open. Found something on the $100,000 Lifelike engine. Permission to post the link. I don't know if it will let you, but you can try. Better not be a Rickroll. Hey SMT, I just wanted to say thank you for all the videos over the years. It really helped me work on a lot of my locomotives. You're probably the reason I made a small career repairing them. Thanks. That's great to hear. That's awesome. Just gonna quickly check in the other room. I feel like I saw a Via engine around here somewhere. Found it. Yeah, let's see. You got quite a bit of slop in the trucks, so it might even be able to run on the inside circuit. Let's see. Oh, it's not happy. I don't know if you're going to read this, but I was thinking of sending you a locomotive fix, then you give it back to me. I don't know if you will, but thank you for inspiring me into getting in the hobby. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I don't do repairs which involve shipping anymore, but if you need any advice on repairs, just send me an email or a message on Instagram, and I'll try to help you with that. It's lugging down the controller. Let me try to get more power. And it derailed. Are you going to display the classic train crossing flags and shelving? Absolutely. I haven't added it yet, but it will. I just got a turbo liner out of the Rapido mystery box. It's an amazing model. Well, that's a heck of a bargain. Good for you. Did you see the Canadian Pacific Holiday Train this year? It was my first time. It was pretty cool. I did see it. It was great. And yeah, glad to hear you got to enjoy it for the first time. And we've got another anonymous donation for $20 to Movember. Thanks to whoever sent that out. You're a top G, Harrison. Thank you. Do you have your grandmother's Hiawatha with you? Not here right now, but I will eventually. Is there any more engines you want to get? Still looking for a Hunter Green River Aussie Hiawatha. I'm trying to think. I feel like there is one I've been on the lookout for, but I feel like a lot of people out there, they have an engine that they want and they look for it. In my case, I sort of just go looking and then I end up finding something that I want. Like I'll go on eBay or I'll go to a train show. Usually something custom, some weird thing in bad condition that somebody's put together, and I snap it up. Joe Bolthouse, thank you so much for the Movember donation of $20. Very generous. Do you perchance use the Heritage Units app or website when rail fanning? I never have. I don't rail fan enough to do it. It's not that I'm not into rail fanning, it's just that the Ottawa Valley doesn't have a very good supply of rail activity. Like Walkley Yard is more or less abandoned, so you have to drive to Smith Falls, which is about an hour away, to do some rail fanning. And I just don't have the time on my hands these days to be driving an hour just to go look at trains. SMT, what former Canadian steam excursion star would you like to see come back into operation besides the Swedish E2, of course? I'd like to see 6218 back running. I would really love to see 6400 operating again. Number 6060 would be another one. 2850 I'd be really happy to see, or any one of the Selkirks. I would love to see one of those running again. That's a good question for everybody in here, though. If there's a steam engine or maybe even a diesel out there that you wanted to see brought back to operation on the main line, what would it be? Those GS4s have the pancake motors. Yeah, they do. I rebuilt both of them, but they're never going to run amazing. Would you rather destroy your whole layout in order for the Hiawatha to be built, or run a marathon from Key West, Florida to Toronto? You must pick one. Run a marathon from Key West to Toronto. I'm in terrible shape. I wouldn't fare well in that, but if Terry Fox can run across Canada on one leg, then I think I should be able to do it. I really want to see a Selkirk run again. Yeah, it would be great. BNO 8595, it's sitting in a field in Ohio. I'd love to see it come back in the chassis system colors. The Hudson Empire Builder, State Express, or the 20th Century Limited. Can you run the lights in the buildings off the same transformer as DCC? Theoretically, you could, because there's always power in the track, but I don't know how great an idea it would be, just because the lighting system alone on this layout uses about an amp of power. Most DCC controllers are 1.5 amps. So you would basically be using most of your controller's power just for the lighting system instead of for your locomotives. It would wear down the controller way quicker. It's also not that hard to supply power to your lighting system. You can buy 12-volt power supplies off Amazon for I think like $20, and they have circuit breakers and stuff, so that's pretty cool. Or you can just take an old DC controller and wire it up to the DC side, and then you can actually dim the lights and stuff. But yeah, I wouldn't share it with whatever you're using to power your engines. Would you like to see your Selkirk that you obtained? Because that'd be awesome to see it running on the layout. Yeah, well, I still need to unbox the model of the Selkirk. I'd absolutely love to see 2816 or 2860 triple header. I know it will likely never happen, but one can dream. I suspect it wouldn't be too hard because I think the engines are both in good order. They probably just need to be inspected. Be easier in Canada. I guess the boiler laws for Canadian steam engines are a little bit more relaxed than they are in the States. There's not the same FRA rules in Canada. In fact, in Canada, for steam engines, you don't even actually have to ever get your boiler inspected. You just have to have insurance on it. Still would probably be a good idea to get your boiler inspected, obviously, because boilers can be dangerous, but it's interesting how much more relaxed the rules are in Quebec around that. What do you think of Rapido trains? I think they're a decent manufacturer. I've had some Rapidos since they were brand new, and they've been fairly reliable. A couple of the ones I got from the display, not the display contest, but the mystery box giveaway they run, but not as well. And some of the older ones I know are prone to having decoder issues, which I've come to know is, I think, actually because of the motors they were putting in them, because I was repairing an engine for a friend. The decoder was bad, but I was like, why did the decoder go bad? So I decided to check the motor, and the motor was drawing a 1/2 amp, which is really high for one of those motors. I opened it up, and the commutator was fouled. So I contacted Rapido, and they quite generously just sent me a motor at no charge. But, it's not ideal that happened. Are you in college or at trade school? If so, what are you studying? I'm not currently in school, but when I was in carpentry and small engines. Carpentry, construction, small engines, and general automotive repair. The T1C in Quebec is technically in running order, less than 10 years of running on it. It was the last one ever delivered to Canadian Pacific. Do Kato couplers break really easily? After a couple months of running my ALC 42, the coupler just snapped. Yeah, I don't think that they're that great. I usually just use metal Cadies. Plastic is just not a good material for couplers. I know there's probably going to be some people out there saying, you just need to be gentle with them, but you know what? If you slam two cars together a little too rough by accident or something, I find they won't tolerate it, and they flex more, whereas like metal Cadies, it takes a lot to damage them. I'm going to release a video because I actually did like a stress test between a plastic coupler and a metal coupler in slow motion, and I'm just pulling it apart, and you can see the plastic coupler flex, and then it just pops. The metal coupler was so strong, I actually had to like pry with both hands, like on pliers, to get it to break. Like, it's insane just how much stronger the metal ones are. And it makes sense. I mean, a coupler does not have a whole lot of material, so if you're making it out of something kind of weak like plastic, it's just not good. Surprised you said automotive, no interest in working for the railroad. Oh, I'm quite attached to the Ottawa Valley. I don't really want to move from here, and there's not a lot of jobs on the railroad around here. Like, our local freight railroad operates like one train a week out of Walkley Yard, so it's not much happening there. So If I wanted to work for one of the main railroads, I'd just be traveling around all the time. I'm kind of a homebody. I do like to like go on trips and stuff like that, but I don't know if being a train driver would be a job I'd actually want that much. I'd probably rather be a mechanic for locomotives than I would to just drive them all day. Hey Harrison, I'm sure you're a great mechanic. Are you a tool man? Your layout is looking great, thanks. If you mean like a tool man is in the guy that everyone's trying to borrow tools from, it's not like crazy, but yeah, I do have some special tools that people usually want to get their hands on. Like I have an engine hoist and compression gauge and stuff like that. Usually, I don't know, friends are buying a boat or something, I offer to go help them and check it out first. I tried to get a job on a railway and was interviewed, but they never took the job. I ended up as a maintenance man slash plumber at a hospital. Well, pretty honorable work still. Alberta Prairie Railroad is working on getting a CNR 6060 running again. Definitely like to see it. I hope they're successful with that. That'd be amazing. I might need to borrow some tools. I'm in Pittsburgh. Do you have snap-on tools? I've got a whole collection of different tools. Nothing from Snap-on. I've got a lot of Milwaukee stuff. As you might be able to tell, but I'm not really brand loyal. Like Milwaukee is my favorite, but I also have Ryobi and Makita, a bit of DeWalt. What's your favorite automotive manufacturer and car? My favorite automotive manufacturer is Toyota. I don't know what my favorite car is. I've got an Oldsmobile Regency. I sure love that thing. That'd be my favorite car. It's not very powerful or anything like that, but it's fun to cruise around in. All Mastercraft. I've got a lot of Mastercraft stuff. Crappy Tire Special, yeah. People hate on Mastercraft, but if I'm honest, when I was like 12 years old, my dad got me a Mastercraft wrench set, and I have not been nice to those tools. Like, there had been times before I had an impact, I'd have like a stuck bolt, and I'd take a rubber mallet and I'd be hammering on it. I pushed those things way past their max, and they never broke. So, you know, they're tough. I had a Stanley wrench set. It lasted about a day before I already broke the ratchet, and I took it right back to Canadian Tire because I was like, if this thing can't last a day in my possession, there's no way it's going to last years. What is your dream car? The Regency, honestly. I don't know. I used to want a Dodge Charger, an older Dodge Charger, because my family had one. And I mean, I would still love to own one, but they're just so expensive. The older GMs, you know, parts are pretty cheap for, so I kind of like that. I'd say 75% of my Mastercraft stuff because it's inexpensive and you can really beat on them. That's been my experience. And I was really lucky too, because the previous owner of this house was a mechanic. And so out in the garage, I actually got a Mastercraft tool chest, or tool shelf, I should say. It's about 5 feet tall, and it's packed with gold and stuff. I just keep finding all sorts of wonderful things, like ratchets, and I haven't found any. Actually, I did find an air impact. I don't have a compressor though, so that's not really helpful. But those benches are full of gold. Probably Probably between that bench and all the tools in it in today's money, I'd say there's like $4,000 I basically got for free with the house, so very happy about that. You should own a diesel truck. I used to have a diesel car. I want to buy a truck eventually, but I think it's probably going to end up... It's either going to be an old Toyota or an old GM, like a GMC or a Chevy. Maybe an old Ford. I'd be fine owning an old Ford. But I don't know. Modern diesels with the emission systems kind of concern me. I like Chargers, but they are unreliable. DeLorean is mine. I love the look of the DeLorean. I think it's an awesome car, but I've heard that they're severely underpowered and not actually very fun to drive. I don't know if that's true. I've never driven one, but that's heard. All my GMs are from the 70s. I think GM back in the day was, you know, making some pretty darn nice stuff. What's the story behind your house? In terms of how I got it, or how, or the previous owners? 7.3 IDI. Yeah, I'd drive a 7.3 IDI. I'm sure those would be reliable. Volvo or Mercedes? Volvo, I'm sure would be more reliable. I like the look of Mercedes, but frankly, I wouldn't really trust them as much from a reliability standpoint. I was fortunate enough to have two Chargers. I had a 71 and a 70. Oh, that's cool. My granddad in the 70s had a 71 Charger with the 440. The history. I don't know a crazy amount about it, but the place was built in segments between the 50s and the 70s. So this whole side right here where the floor raises up, that was all built in the 50s, and then this part was an extension at some point in the 70s. And then they added the garage on with the 80s. I don't know too much about the previous owners. From what I understand, they were really nice people. Like, everybody who I've had in to do repairs knew them, and they said that they were nice. But I think by the end, there was some mental health issues and stuff, and the house wasn't really being taken care of. A lot of mission critical stuff has been looked after, so it's got like a new roof, it's got a new hot water heater. A lot of the plumbing is pretty modern, but apparently this was all full of stuff, and yeah, it wasn't great. A lot of holes punched in the walls and things like that. But I don't know too many stories about it or anything like that. Do you like WD-40? I do. My favorite thing to do. My favorite thing is the taste. Well, I've never tasted WD-40. I'm actually not a very big fan of WD-40. It will, you know, it can, if it's all I have to help get a bolt or something unstuck, I'll use it. But I actually find like liquid wrench is a bit of a better penetrating oil. And WD-40, like, people use it to lubricate door hinges and things like that. It's not a great lubricant. It's very thin, so, you know, I get why a lot of people like it. Everybody's going to have a can of it in their house, and it's good in a pinch, but it's not my go-to personally. Most tools are good, but the top names are well spec'd out. We lost a lot of tool makes down here. Maybe some will make a comeback. Get a Corvette. I like the Corvettes, the 70s Corvettes, but every time I see one, I think of Cyrus from Trailer Park Boys. WD-40 removes rust. That's true. WD water displacement formula. Yeah. You might have already answered this. Are you doing another Christmas contest? Yeah, I think so. Cyrus, yeah. For anybody that hasn't seen the Trailer Park Boys, their nemesis was this guy who was always walking around in a leather jacket with these glasses on and acting super tough, and he would always pull up in a red Corvette with the same song blasting, and then he'd have some sort of altercation with them, and then he'd say, "Oh, screw off, I have work to do." 9mm safety always off. Yeah, that was one of his lines. If you haven't ever seen Trailer Park Boys, the humor's pretty crude. If you're not into that, don't watch it. But if you find that stuff funny, definitely watch it. But yeah, look up Cyrus. He's I think he might be my favorite character from the show. Like, he's not a good person or anything, but every time he shows up, I just find it so funny. When are you getting the Swayze Express? I was hoping to build a model of the Swayze Express. Letterkenny is the sophisticated version. I've heard people compare Letterkenny to the Trailer Park Boys. I don't find Letterkenny is similar, honestly. I mean, it's the only thing I think it really has in common is the fact it's another Canadian show. But I do like it. It is pretty entertaining. Yeah, Letterkenny, Trailer Park Boys. The Red Green Show is awesome. I feel like there's another one I'm missing. But yeah, I find Letterkenny is actually a little bit more similar to, like, Corner Gas. It's just more vulgar. Can you run the Dreyfus Hudson? I don't think I have it here. Julian is my favorite. I had a friend like him when I was younger. I have a friend who reminds me a ton of Ricky. Like, he looks kind of similar to Ricky, and he talks and acts like him. He's a little more grounded and smarter than Ricky, but I can relate to that. If they don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Yeah. You'll have to build a really great set of shelves for your collection, or you're going to be limited for the walls. Yeah, I agree with that. Favorite model train company? I'd say Athearn. Funny you should bring up the green Hiawatha. In Mafia 2, there's actually a locomotive in the game that heavily resembles the Hiawatha, but with the green and white scheme. That's interesting. Hey, Behavior, welcome. New crib, yeah. I should film a video like Cribs and do a tour of the place at some point. I keep finding stuff in the ceiling. I think that there was I think this was like a teenage boys' room, because I found the AC/DC poster up in the ceiling, but I keep, as I'm checking for leaks and stuff like that, I keep finding stuff. I don't know if it's still up there, but there was a greasy old beer can here. And I also found this postcard for Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Which here's something which I got a real kick out of. I ended up finding this 1980 notice to not register your car or get a sticker for it. You don't need these in Quebec anymore, but they used to be part of it. But yeah, I find it kind of cool because the plate's a 79, and I have a 79 Regency, which is plated in Quebec. But the thing that I just love is, like, that's got to be the most 80s French-Canadian man they could possibly depict. Really went to town on this, but yeah. Thought that was kind of cool. Looks well lived in. Yeah, it's definitely got stories to tell. Here's a funny story. When I got in here, there was a wall, and it was kind of rotted out, and the water damage was old, but anyway, I was cutting it out, and what I didn't realize is that they had a shelf that they had built way up high here, but I hadn't seen it because it was blocked by like a piece of wood. So I'm sawzalling through this, and then all of a sudden I just hear this massive crashing sound and all this glass breaking. And I open up the door, there's all these broken jars, and I'm like, where did all this come from? And then that's when I realized I'd accidentally cut down a shelf. So that was fun to clean up. I don't think he has a single Norfolk Southern. I don't know how many I have here, but I definitely own some. Yeah, I don't see any in the minimal selection right now, but yeah. What do you think the price for the Christmas layout winner will be this year? Also, Bubbles or Leahy is my favorite Trailer Park Boys character. Yeah, Leahy. John Dunsworth was a great actor. Yeah, as for the prize for the contest, I don't know. I'm probably just going to go down to my local hobby shop and find something nice. Joys of home ownership, eh? How many times have you been to the States? Too many times to count. I've been going to the States every year of my life. Even when I was still in my mom's belly there, we went down to the States in 2000. And then when I was like 3 months old, we went on a trip to Maine. And then every year after that, we've been going there. My dad was born in Michigan, and my mom would always vacation in Maine. So we have those ties. And I also have family who live in the States. So got a lot of different reasons to be down there. And we go there pretty often for vacation too. So, yeah. Are your internet providers fairly affordable in provinces? Not really, no. I think I'm paying $100 a month for Bell. I really didn't want to go with Bell. I don't like Bell. They're a terrible company, but they have megabit internet, so I was like, well, gigabit internet, sorry. It's 1,500 megabits, so gigabits. I'm mixing stuff up. But anyways, pretty fast internet. But yeah, I signed up. They give me the modem, and then I get my first bill, and it's for $300, and they had said that there were no installation fees. So I called them up, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a one-time modem rental fee." And I was like, "Well, you told me that there weren't any fees for setup." She's like, "Yeah, sir, let me check your file." And she's like, "Yeah, you're right. Actually, this appears to be a mistake. We'll reverse the charge." So I think they were just trying to do one of those things where they just hope people don't push them on it and squeeze money out of them. Hello, Harrison just joined. How's the new house? I think it's doing well. Bell run forced run. Yeah, that's right. Bell is just one letter off from being its true name. Thank you so much for Neen Dearth 88 for the $10 donation to Movember. Snow in the backyard. How did you run the locomotives? All the track was soldered together, so you wouldn't have any issues with electrical issues, and it was all low voltage. Why 60 a month for 50 meg? I don't know. Working with Bell, it's kind of like, oh, you don't like the service? Maybe you should consider going to one of our competitors. And then they smile because they know there's no competition in town. New part of the layout, does the street line still work? It does. I was trying to run some stuff on there earlier, and I was having some issues, but we could probably get a small engine of some sort operating on it. Harrison, I'm about to launch a business of selling train replacement parts and upgrade kits. I have a Lionel Polar Express kit. If you want one, it includes a better boiler cap and smoke unit. Well, I'd be willing to have a look if you want to send me an email, but yeah, good for you. I hope that works. This is a locomotive I kit bashed out of different parts. It doesn't look great, but it was just supposed to be a prototype. Back in the day, I actually was trying to develop an engine to sell and kind of got sidetracked. But this is what I had. I've learned so much from you. I like to binge watch your content. Thank you. How much Varney stuff do you have? I don't know, probably about 5 or 10 Varney locomotives. It's not a very big part of my collection, but I really do like working on them. They're just kind of hard to find. I like the kit bashed engine. It's actually loosely based on a real type of engine. It's this manufacturer, and they use like the same trucks as they put on AC 4400s, except they just build a switcher on top of it. It's some small brand. It might be Canadian, I don't know. I want to say it's a business that's operated out of BC. It's acting a little bit sluggish, but maybe it will warm up. Yeah, I think I need to clean my track on the inside circuit. I don't know why it's so much worse, but yeah. The white on the bricks is water damage. This is very common with homes built on the Canadian Shield. Apparently water is forced up and it pushes salts out. I haven't seen any signs of recent water intrusion. This is probably years worth of it. See if this thing will stay on. Nope. It's a shop critter. I guess you could call it that. There goes my mountain. Let's see if this one will stay on. Do you speak French? Not really. I used to work in a restaurant which was French, and so I learned a lot of like food words. So like if I go to like a fast food restaurant or something, I can order my meal completely in French, or I can go to the grocery store and you know, check out in French, but I couldn't hold down like a conversation. Is the Hershey factory going to be moved to the basement? Possibly, I'm not sure yet. I haven't come up with a plan for it. Chloe will teach him French. She's been helping. The tiny engine is real. It was built by Tractive Power Corp. It is a TP56. Yes, it's rebuilt from larger locomotives in northern Vancouver. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Are you doing new mountains? Probably just new track around the mountain layout. Why hasn't she taught you French? Mostly just due to time. Do you want a BNSF Gevo? I can get a BNSF going there. It's even sound equipped. You probably won't want to learn how to speak American. Speak American. Do you own a Gevo? I don't know. Is this a Gevo? I definitely have some Gevos. I just don't know if this counts. Run something from Australia. I'll see if I have any Australian stuff. American, eh? I don't know how to speak Canadian, you just add A to the end of every word. I don't know what you would do to learn how to speak American, like say y'all. French isn't technically needed even in Quebec. I've traveled with my job and worked in Quebec for a few months. I speak little to no French. I had no problems communicating. It depends where you are. If you're in a place like Montreal, a lot of people speak English, but if you go out to like rural parts of Quebec, it's very uncommon that people speak any English. Do you think you could speak Bostonian slash New English? I don't know. I've been around a lot of Bostonians out in Maine. I'll try. It'd be like Pocky Cat and the Cat Pack. It's probably about as good as I can do. Yeah, the Bostonians are hilarious. Like down in Maine, because Boston is so close to Arundel. We have a lot of Bostonians around there, and yeah, you'll be on the beach and you'll hear them all talk like ranting about something. It always makes me smile. I would imagine French Canadians are quite different from French prop. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like how somebody from England speaks English, just like somebody from, the U.S. can speak English, but the accent is different. It's the same thing with French. It was funny. There was this one time, one of my friends, she was having a party, and she's from Belgium, and so a lot of her friends who were from Belgium were speaking very, like French, and then the rest of the friends were all like French Canadian, and everyone was talking in English because when they were trying to speak French to each other, the pronunciation was so different that they were having trouble communicating. And you do hear a difference. Like a lot of like her friends from Belgium, they say like oui, and in Quebec it's more like ouais. What's your best Scottish accent? I don't know how to do a Scottish accent. I feel like you can only like kind of get the accents of people like you've been around. None of my friends or family are from Scotland, so I feel like I just never heard enough of the language. How should I prepare a 30-year-old Athearn locomotives out of the box for operation? Try to power it up, just see if it moves. If it's locked in place, which if it's been sitting for 30 years, it probably has been, but just see if it moves. And then what I would do is do an oil change on it, open it up, clean out the old lubricants because they're probably dry, and add some fresh stuff. But provided it's not seized, really oil is the only thing you need to worry about. Everything else, other than the wheels maybe being oxidized, should sort itself out just from running it. That's really the only two things that can change when an engine is put into storage. The lubricants dry out and things oxidize. Provided you take care of both those things, any engine that's been sitting will restart. I have a Newfoundland accent. People confuse it with an Irish accent. I could see that happening. It was funny because back when I was working at the restaurant, most of my coworkers were French. And one day this guy says, what part of England are you from? And I was like, I'm not from England. I was born and raised in Canada. I never even have been to England. He's like, wait, yeah, but you've got a really strong British accent. And I was like, no, I don't. I thought this guy was a little bit of like a, I don't know, he would try to kind of get a rise out of people, so I thought maybe he's just messing with me. So I went to my coworker Sam, who is not the kind of guy who ever messed with anybody. Like, he wouldn't take part in jokes, and I was like, do you find I sound like a British guy? And he said, yeah. And I was like, seriously? And he's like, yeah, you have a bit of a British accent, which I found funny, because I don't think so, but maybe to some people. WD gets sticky, don't use it for lubrication. Yeah, I would probably, if the engines are important to you, get Labelle oil or something like that. Put some proper oil in it. If the engines are not that important to you, though, I would probably opt for using like 3-in-1 oil over WD-40. It's not ideal for model trains, but at least it's an actual lubricant, whereas WD-40 is like a cleaning agent with some lubricating properties. So a lot of people say like WD-40 melts gears and stuff like that. I've never seen that happen. I've only heard stories about it, but my theory is that it doesn't actually melt gears. My theory is that it lubricates so badly it actually draws out whatever lubricants are in there, and then the parts just wear down because there isn't enough oil. Same thing with people from the Ottawa Valley. Yeah, I think that is probably it. Yeah, a lot of people from the Ottawa Valley pronounce their A's really heavily. So like some people I know who have a really strong Ottawa Valley accent, they won't call me Harrison. They'll call me Harrison. They'll be like, "Oh, Harrison, how are you doing?" I have to go see my grandson. Like they kind of talk like that. You don't have a British accent. At times, your Canadian twang comes out. Yeah. WD-40 is fish oil. Isn't it made with fish eggs or something? You know the lyrics to Rusty Chevrolet? I know the song you're talking about. It's like a parody of Jingle Bells, but I don't think I could sing it word for word. Many oils, grease mentioned here will ruin plastic parts. I don't agree with that. I've heard that before, and this is the theory, which is that plastics are made out of oil, and so if you have a certain type of the plastics. Sorry, the live stream just broke up for a second. Yeah, the plastics are made from oil, so if you add a certain type of oil, the plastics will like absorb that oil and they'll melt. I've never seen it happen, and to dispel this myth, I took a whole bunch of spare parts off of stuff that I was never going to use. I threw them all in a styrene cup. I covered them in 3-in-1 oil. That was back in April, and none of the parts have melted. I mean, the 3-in-1 oil comes in a plastic bottle, and I know there are different types of plastics, but I really think that the reason a lot of people think that WD-40 melts parts is because it's such a bad lubricant, not because of the properties. If anybody has proof that WD-40 has melted parts in their locomotives, send me an email. I would love to see it, but so far it hasn't been debunked. I have never seen it personally after years of working on engines. 1980s Bachmann gears. Well, those just break because they were put together using an interference fit with really crapple nylon. That's just Bachmann trains being Bachmann. Ricky swears by WD-30. I only ever use WD-40 as cleaner, never as considered it a lubricant. Yeah, and again, like I was mentioning earlier, like there have been a couple times where like I've had a stuck bolt or something and I've used some WD-40 just to help get it unstuck, and it usually will help with that sort of thing, but I just don't find that as an actual lubricant for anything, it ever has worked well. I know some guys who actually use automatic transmission fluid for their locomotives. I've never tried that. It might work okay. To fix bent tracks, use glue or nails or both so they won't cause derailment. I usually use screws. If you're on plywood, you can sometimes tap a nail in your ties. But a lot of the time what I do is I drill a hole in the tie and then I take a screw and I drive that down. Because the nails, if they're not in plywood or anything, they sometimes will just back out from the vibration, whereas screws don't do that. Only some plastic types will melt with oils. Other plastic types will harden or get brittle later. Have you ever driven a real locomotive before? If not, what would it be like? What would you like the first locomotive that you drive to be? If I could drive a locomotive, I would probably want to drive a -9. I have driven an engine before. I'm not going to say where because I don't want to get them in trouble, but it was on a closed circuit. It was totally safe with a real driver there, but it was pretty cool. As a plumber, I would avoid WD-40 due to hospital regulations. What are the hospital regulations? Is it because of it's bad for the air quality or something? Sewing machine oil is good. Will not eat gears if you're on a budget. I'd believe that. It depends on the type of engine you're working on too, though. Like, if you have an engine with brass gears, you need to have a thick lubricant. If you have an engine with plastic gears, usually a thin oil will get the job done. I used WD-40s for years in my ABS electric RC boats, including marine grease, and it never affected any of the plastics. WD-40 contact cleaner is best on the market, great for commutators and all switches. It's good to know. Have you ever tried hand laying track? I can't say I have. JB as a lubricant. What's that? JB. The only thing I can think of is JB Weld, but it must stand for something else. Super Lube synthetic grease. I've never worked with Super Lube myself, but I've heard great things about it. Have you ever tried white lithium grease? I have. On the engine I used it on, it didn't work that well. Maybe it wasn't lithium grease. I don't know. It was a dry lubricant. I might have it around here. It was some sort of a white powder. It was made by LaBelle, and the benefit is supposed to be that you never actually have to change your oil once you add this dry grease, because it's a dry powder, so it will never dry out. But when I added it to the engine, the current draw was higher and the engine didn't go as fast, so it was reducing performance. WD-40 will damage your motor and tracks. Too many people said that. I've never seen that. But, like, when I was younger, before I knew any better, I would open up the trucks on my engines and I would spray WD-40 in the gearboxes. I did that for years, and I still have all those engines today. The plastic has not melted, and the track is fine. The only bad thing that it did was it did go tacky. Like, I would spray it in the engine, and then the performance would be great right off the bat when the lubricant was still wet. But the second it dried out, the engine would become sluggish again. So I quickly learned it was not a very good lubricant, but the whole melting gears claim, it never occurred. Marvel Mystery Oil. Raven is making a joke about Jersey Bill. Classic Model Train says we're going to use Super Lube. Classic Model Trains uses Super Lube. Super lube is good. White lithium grease is good for larger engines, O scale. That's good to know. How did you make your road crossing? I just took some dry decks and plastered over the tracks, and then using an X-Acto blade, I carved it up, sanded it, and painted it. The dry decks is actually level with the ties. There's nothing in the middle, and I just find it works better that way, because if you have larger engines where they kind of cut in on the track at an angle, if you have, I don't know what you would call it, an island between the rails, it will ride up on that and derail. So I just find keeping the whole thing level with the ties is a good way to avoid problems. Would you cut through other rooms to make space for the trains? Well, I can't remove this wall because it's load bearing, but there's already a hole in it, so I can definitely run a train through there. As for some of the other rooms, yeah, I could definitely expand things a little bit, but right now, as things are set, the house is sort of like, the basement's divvied up, so we're in the first section, and then you have a second section where the wood stove is, and then the final section is very narrow, and that's where the furnace is. Now, I'm converting the furnace from oil to electric. The newer unit is going to take up less room, and I'm also not going to have an interior oil tank, so that's going to be great. So maybe once I get more room in that area, I can expand the room. We'll have to see. Give us a tour, give us a tour. Might be able to, hold on. Everyone, excuse the mess. It's not looking pretty right now because, again, it's in a moving state. But this room we've been calling the speakeasy because it's, I don't know, it's kind of got like low light and stuff. This is the new wood stove. Just had this installed a few days ago, and it's been a godsend. This thing kicks out so much heat. So, yeah, and then this is the laundry room. So you can see this is the other side of that hole in that wall there. And then if we come through here, this is that furnace room I was talking about. So this is the old oil furnace, and then over here is the oil tank. So this is taking up a considerable amount of space. I want to be rid of that, and yeah, like this is not in good shape right here. The unit completely died the other day, so yeah, we're getting rid of that. Yeah, kind of cool stuff. Again, the guy was a mechanic. He had auto mechanic parts here, like parts of a transmission when I got in here. And I think somewhere over here, get the sawzall out of the way. Yeah, some cool kind of general rules for fixing cars of different brands. I feel like there might have been some more automotive stuff in here. Guy definitely knew how to have fun, that's for sure. I keep finding keys to random things. I have no idea what all this belongs to. I don't know if they're old locks around the house or something. Things that aren't relevant anymore, but yeah. Kind of strange. But yeah, slowly getting it all in shape. Secret rooms, yeah. A lot of just odd qualities about the house. It's sort of like a bi-level here. and then they built like one layer of floor, and then they built the second layer of floor on top of that. Like just lots of stuff which I don't really understand, but it's there. Are you from Canada? Yeah. Any tips on how to build an HO scale layout? The first thing I would do before you lay down any track or do anything is make a list of all the things you want, just to kind of get a rough idea of where you want to head with it. Like, get some inspiration online or through old model railroad magazines, wherever you can, from real places. Make yourself a list of all the things you want, and then deduct things off that list based on how much room you have and what your budget is. Because obviously, what you don't want to do is go and spend all of your money on buildings and not have track. Like, obviously your priority is getting track down, but you can kind of add things in stages. So if you want to build a layout that eventually will have a downtown, you set that space aside, and then once you have your track down, you make that a future extension, and then you can just kind of grow the layout. Glad to see you live streaming again. It's good to be back. Don't let fire or flooding in your model train collection in your house is going to be bad. Yeah. Well, first of all, getting rid of the oil furnace is already going to make the house definitely safer from a fire standpoint. And the new wood stove is all up to code, so that's definitely safer. As for water, on the paper, like when I bought it, it said that there was a sump pump in the house. I have not been able to find it, so I don't know if there was one here. If there isn't, I'm going to add one, because if there was one before, it probably was for a good reason. But I'll add one on. But the good news is the electrical in the house is pretty modern. It has a 200 amp service with actual breakers. I haven't found any tube and socket or anything like that, so far the electrical is looking pretty good. Is the electric heat a heat pump to outside air or ground? It's not a heat pump. I was hoping to get a heat pump because they're a lot cheaper to run compared to an electric furnace, but it's too expensive. Too expensive to get a heat pump. It would be, I think, about $15,000 all in, whereas to get forced air electric, it was, I think, it's going to be about $7,000 when all is said and done, which also includes the cost of disposing of the oil tank and the oil furnace. Do you have a list of your trains for insurance? No, I don't actually, but that would be a good idea. I just purchased a Maynard's HO scale Sioux-line set. It's my very first dip into O scale. Gotta say, it's super fun modeling this big stuff. O scale has never been the most realistic, but I will say in terms of running the trains, there is something very magical about it. Like, they have a bit of like the rumble of a real train. Like, they definitely have a lot more presence than the other scales. Don't you have natural gas lines in your area? Natural gas is an option, but again, too expensive. Electric is probably the cheapest, because electricity in Quebec is fairly cheap because we got so many hydro dams. And the insurance on electric is also way cheaper. Sounds like Hydro-Quebec is still subsidizing electric heat. They are, and you also get a Hydro-Quebec, because you're going to use more electricity than you would oil. They actually will give you $15,000, or not 15,000, but $1,500 off your furnace if you prove that you got rid of your oil furnace and replaced it with electric. So it's kind of cool that a private company is, you know, actually helping people out with that. They're going to make the money back, no doubt, but I'd way rather have electric in that case. Generally, I like things that run on oil. I like having, gas-powered machines and things like that. But for heating, I just don't think oil's that practical, unfortunately. I know this is a bit of a sad question, but I want to know, where were you when you first heard of the Lac Megantic disaster? I was at home. I went on my computer and I saw it was in the news. I think I live about 4 hours away from where Lac Megantic happened, so it wasn't like a local event, but it did shake the province. There was a lot of fundraisers going on in the area to help people out who were affected by that. I had an e-furnace. You'll find double more with electric furnace. Well, electric furnaces are not that efficient, but my parents have always had forced air electric, so I kind of know what I'm dealing with because I know what their electric bill is, and their house is like double the size of this place, so theoretically it should be cheaper. This house is probably not as efficient as their place is, but if you combine it with like a wood stove or something, and then you're just kind of running them both in tandem, it should be okay. I was looking on Amazon too. You can get like a 24,000 BTU heat pump, so I might also add one of those on, and then have forced air electric, wood burning, and a heat pump as a trifecta of HVAC. I see a plug in the side of your train set. What's that for? That dates back to when I was using Bachmann Easy Command. You could plug your controller into the side of the layout and operate trains over here. I never really ended up using it that much. I never really found it that helpful. Have you ever seen two-rail O-scale? I have. 2 years ago, I went to a train show, and there were these guys, and they were running two-rail O-scale British engines. The heat pump is way cheaper than wood. I don't know. I mean, $15,000 is a lot of money. I can buy 4 cords of wood for like under $500, so it would take quite a few years for it to pay itself off. Are you still planning on building the shopping mall on your layout? It's probably going to get delayed just because of all the activity of actually getting the layout working again, but yeah, absolutely. I'd love to add a Forest Fair Mall to the layout. Don't rush getting appliances, heating and cooling equipment. Wait for sales to decide what you need just before rushing out and buying stuff. I don't really have a choice. The oil furnace is on its last legs, and even if I wanted to get the ignition system redone on it for $500, the oil tank was built in 2007, and you have to, for insurance, get them replaced every 20 years. So it has to get replaced. There's no dodging that. I'm not really worried. It's not going to hurt the value of the house. If anything, it's going to help it. So I'm really not concerned. I think it's a sound place to put money. It sucks it has to get done. I wish it already had a heat pump or forced air, but at the same time too, there were a lot of things about this house which really ruined the curb appeal, and I was grateful for that. It probably helped to prevent more bids going in. A cord of wood here in the States is $250. Wow. Yeah, no, my grandmother usually gets like 4 cords of wood, and it's I think $450 or something. I used to weld the tubes in oil furnaces. Pretty scary. I could imagine. Is the Hershey factory coming to the new place? Yeah, I think so. If I can't find a place for it after like a year, like a heritage museum or something, it will probably be moved here. I just don't know where. Do you have any Dash 8s or Dash 9s with you right now? I don't think I do. Will you ever try American Flyer S-Scale? I already did. There's a video online. Somebody sent me a whole S-Scale train set. I'll have to find a spot to set that up as well. Can you run any Tyco trains? This one right here is a Tyco. This one's a Tyco shell, but I can see if I can find some more. The Hershey factory's an OG. Yeah, I agree. Me and Chloe actually drove by the old Hershey factory on Friday when we went to go see the holiday train in Smith Falls. It's really weird. All the lights are on, but there's no activity. There's no signage. There's definitely security. There's 2 cars in the parking lot, but that's it. So weird to me a company would spend $53 million buying a facility and just sit on it like that. What's the plan for the layout expansion? I've already explained it a couple times to people, so I don't want to sound like a broken record, but in short, I want to add bench work, rebuild this whole side of the layout with the L, and then connect it maybe with a Y or something. It doesn't sound happy. Just getting here sounds like a solid plan. Sounds like the tea is ready. Sounds like an angry red squirrel. Thing is not happy. Sounds like scratching records. Short line junker for sure. We'll see if it powers through it. That'll buff out. Are you gonna make an elevated track for your set? It's possible. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna go get some water. We're now being left unsupervised. No, I'm pretty fast. Without the pivot gear going out, I think what causes this is as the Tyco power torque drives age, the pivots in the middle of each gear or the gears themselves wear down, and so instead of them turning taut, they start to kind of go sideways and rub against each other. Sometimes adding a thick enough lubricant will quiet it down, but inevitably it always comes back. Are you planning on starting the layout all over again? For the industrial side, yes, but for this side, it's going to remain mostly the same. Do you own a BNS FES 44? I don't think I do. My wife and I are trying to fix my Tyco locomotive right now, and it's making the same noise. I don't know. It's just something these things seem to do. Move your spotlight down. Yeah, I still haven't got the lighting system quite on point. What I need to do is I need to install another one of those. Probably right here. Have it kind of pointing light this way and this way. Because we definitely have some dark spots, and these 70s lights, it would probably help if I cleaned them a little bit, but yeah, they're not very bright. Is the place bigger or smaller? The house is about half the size of my parents' place. Put some slightly thicker silicone oil on the brass motor bearing. In my power torque, the squealing went away. I'll try it. You need to make a shelf layout for the G-scale stuff. That would be cool. That, or we run it on the ceiling. If you do ever get any more Lionel stuff, I would heavily recommend a tin plate streamliner like a Flying Yankee or Hiawatha. They made them, the reproductions in the 80s. I almost bought one last Christmas. It was one of the original units, I think from the 40s, the 30s or 40s. But the auction went, I think it was $1,000 American dollars or something. Anyway, I couldn't afford that, so I didn't buy it, but I would like to get one. $3 or $4 $20 shop lights. I have some painting lights, which I could probably temporarily install here. Where's the workbench? It's down here. I don't have the shelf for all the engines. I need to bring that over for all the stuff that needs repairs, but here it is. I don't recall seeing those before. It is in a new track. This section right here is all brand new, yeah. Are you keeping the Hershey factory at your parents' house? It is staying there for the time being, just until it can kind of come up with a plan. Hopefully Hershey's at some point announces what they want to do with the Smith Falls plant, and I can make them an offer. Idea, you could add a speaker with variable lighting that matches what it looks like outside, so if it's sunny the lights will go bright, and if it's rainy, this lights will flash. Yeah, I don't know. One of the museums I went to, this place in Cincinnati, Entertainment Junction, they had some sort of a Dayton night system. So the lighting would go all blue when it was night, and then it would change back. And a day was, I think, 24 minutes, so basically every minute was an hour. I meant lights that hang from the ceiling. They look like fluorescent lights, but they have LEDs in them. That might work. I had some on the original layout, and I should just probably move those over. It's funny trying to pick the right LED. I don't know if it's the frequency of, you know, how much they flash or something, but some LEDs, not all, some of them react with the camera. They make this weird warping. Could you run the SMT mainline FP40? If I have it here, yes. I found it. So let's figure out how to adjust the lighting. Oh, is this... Oh, okay, that's why the lighting was all cattywampus. There's something called relight. We'll see if that helps. Is that better? It's my first time using an Android, and so I'm still kind of learning it better. That's good. Are your parents excited to have the basement back to themselves? Generally, yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't want this to sound like criticism. They're very supportive of the channel, and they still are. But I think getting that space back in the basement is going to be better. Camera's more steady. That's good. I love your videos, especially the one building tracks. I can't wait for what you do in your new home. It's going to be fun. There's going to be some cool stuff. Tap on the phone screen should go back into focus. The major issue I've been having is the lighting control. Everything looks kind of washed out. Like right now the layout looks like it's almost like a bit of a grayish color, and on my iPhone I've never had that problem. Everything looks pretty similar, and there's some weird stuff going on too for the camera on the opposite side. Like for some reason my face looks really blurry, and I have these red spots. I don't know. It looks like a filter or something, but I don't like it. So, but it doesn't do that when I'm just using the camera. Like if I'm using the camera outside of the app, it doesn't seem to have these problems. So I don't know why it's like that, but there's got to be some settings I can mess around with. Entertainment Junction was a nice display, but it closed in 24. They hadn't found a buyer. Loved the Coney Island display upstairs. It was very accurate. Yeah, I liked it. They closed. I actually went there in 2025 because they were open until January 5th, I think. I was there on the very last day it was open. It was cool being there. How's Darth Santa Fe? Welcome. How's being a homeowner so far? I'm liking it. Had its challenges. Things have been very heavy on the administrative side, but yeah, overall I'm enjoying it. It must be your face, Harrison. SMT home renovations. There's a learning curve on these phones. It would seem so. Hey, SMT, I'm a new modeler. Just finished ballasting, but it didn't spread properly and then it dried. Is there any way of chiseling my ballast? What I usually do is I take a flathead screwdriver and poke some holes in it and then just try to scrape it off. Wear some eye protection, because if you don't, it can fly up and go in your eyes. Ask me how I know. And sometimes if it's not too like glued down, you can just vacuum it up. But yeah, that will usually the ballast, like if you lay it down and then you add the glue and it starts going all bubbly, it's usually because you didn't add enough of a surfactant. So spray more alcohol down or add more water with dish soap, and it will break the surface tension and allow the glue to sink in. You can also add some dish soap and water to your glue, and that will help dilute it. It will flow a little bit better. You're coming through in 1080, which is awesome. Just be some settings to iron out. The retouch doesn't make a difference. That's weird. Have you seen the Great Train Museum at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago? I can't say I have. I'm making a new layout and I was wondering, should I make a river in the middle of the layout or a sawmill? I would personally probably go with the sawmill because I feel like you could add a cool industry there, but river has its advantages too. You could build a bridge over it or something. Glad to hear. I've personally had less time for hobbies and things I want to do since buying a house, 10 years owning it, but I think it's been worth it. Well, that's good to hear. If you ever are out in California, you should visit the Nethercut Museum to see the Royal Hudson 2839, and the Royal Hudson that's been to the east and west coast. How about a sawmill and a river like the old E.B. Eddy Mill in Ottawa? Oh, the E.B. Eddy Mill. That place was cool. It looked so sketchy, but for anybody that's not like from Ottawa, you probably wouldn't know about E.B. Eddy, but we used to have a massive sawmill in Ottawa for E.B. Eddy when they were like logging the river, and I think they made chemicals there as well and stuff like that, like for paper and stuff. Anyway, a few years ago, a developer bought what was like left of the mill, but before they demolished it, they opened it as an event space, and it was cool because one of my sister's friends was having like a birthday party there, and me and my dad had to go pick her up. And we were just walking through this factory, and they had not changed a single thing. Like, they hadn't renovated it to make it like an event space. It was just like an abandoned factory, and yeah, it was cool. Are you bringing your Oldsmobile to the new house? It's already here, and if the car could talk, it would probably be pretty happy about that, because unlike before where it would just be covered in a tarp, it's actually sitting inside the garage. It's not a heated garage, but it's at least protected from the snow and the rain, so it's probably going to be really good for it. Still going. The stream is usually down by now. Well, that's just it. There's nobody upstairs to keep awake. It wasn't a sawmill. It was a newsprint and toilet paper factory. I thought they had some milling there, because I thought they were pulling logs right out of the Ottawa River into the mill. Do you have a daily driver that isn't the Oldsmobile? Yeah, I do. I have another car. I was daily driving the Oldsmobile back in the fall, though, because my main car had the timing belt was going on it, and I was worried I was going to grenade the engine, so I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to start driving the Olds. That was kind of cool, actually, just driving a classic car day in, day out. A little bit sketchy when it would make weird noises and stuff, but it didn't let me down. I bought a 1950 Olympia Express Japan HO scale model for 15, runs and crawls because your GP7 Olympia video. Oh yeah, I forgot of that Japanese one. Yeah, that I think I still have it. It's a good engine. Years ago, I was at the Indiana Children's Museum, and they had an all-copper excuse me, all copper Lionel train. It was very heavy. It couldn't pull the consist. It was a special request one time. Huh. Is your inner loop 18 radius? It's mostly 22 on the inside loop, but there are two pieces of 18 radius. Is the 98 Regency a coupe or a sedan? It's a sedan. How old is the Oldsmobile? Well, it was made in 1978, and in 2028 that would be 50 minus, what, 3 years, so I think it would be about, what, 47? They pulled logs, but it was for making wood pulp. My brother worked there. Oh. Is this just going to keep going till you fall asleep? I don't want to miss anything. I don't know, I'll probably end it in like a half hour or something. We'll see. Maybe sooner if the fatigue hits me. I was up till 3 a.m. I don't know why. I was completely wired last night. 47 years ago for a 1978 Oldsmobile 98 Regency. So I was right. You were all train nerds. I know absolutely nothing about them. Everyone hit that like button. It really helps creators. That is true. Cork or plywood? It's on a material called Homosote. I think it's usually used for boards and things like that. Yeah, for tack boards and stuff. What color is it? I assume it has a vinyl roof. It's silver and the vinyl matches. It was featured very briefly in my 1950s Lionel video. Yeah, I'll have to do a video now that I've got the Oldsmobile running. $3 what did you have to drink? Did you drink five-hour energies to enter the forbidden hour of the day? I'd only had a coffee, but sometimes, I don't know why, like once a week I have one day where I just stay up really late and I can't shut my mind off. Some people can relate to this. For some reason I can think a lot more clearly at night. I have no idea why, but I usually do most of my problem solving at night. Can't shut my brain off. It's kind of annoying. Same. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I can't fall asleep, but I get a lot of productive stuff done. Like I'll be having a problem with anything, whether it be a locomotive or a car, you name it, and I can problem solve. I can problem solve a lot better at night for some reason. But other times it goes the other way, and I start thinking about something embarrassing that happened like 15 years ago when I was a kid. It's just weird. Don't feel bad about not knowing anything about trains. Everyone starts here. Just keep watching and learning. It will come with time if you're interested enough. Yeah, 100%. No one's born an expert at anything. What's the origin story of the olds? I don't think I've heard where you obtained it. Okay, so I wanted to buy a classic car, but I wasn't really certain which one I wanted. I just wanted a land boat. And a lot of the ones that were popping up on Facebook Marketplace were being sold for like a fortune, or the cheap ones were rusted out, which is a common issue with Canadian cars. And then one day I hop on Facebook and there was this car that was just listed, 98 Regency. It looked great, and so I tried to message the seller, but before I did, they ended up taking down the ad, and I thought, oh, somebody must have bought it, and I was really kicking myself that I didn't act faster. One day later, for whatever reason, the seller relists the car with brand new photos, and I was like, okay, I'm messaging this guy. We got the address. Me and Chloe drove out there. We saw it. It was like 2 hours away, and it looked good. Like, he started it up, and it was running well. There wasn't any significant rust. Everything about it just seemed nice, so I was like, I think I'd like to take it. So we went and we got a trailer, we picked it up, drove it all the way back home. Now that was out somewhere past Montreal on the Canada-US border. It was some border town I can't remember the name of, but it was like 2 hours away. But the funny part is that the car came from Maniwaki, which is another town that's like an hour away from here. But back in the day, my family actually used to have an Oldsmobile dealership. I don't know if it was Oldsmobile, but it was GM out that way. It was a GM dealership in Maniwaki, and since the original registration was to Maniwaki, so it's not inconceivable that car might have been sold by a distant relative back in the 70s. Probably not, but you never know. The Oldsmobile 88 was the inspiration for one of the very first rock and roll songs in 1951. I didn't know that. It's a problem in the States too, Harrison. It seems the cheap ones are all junkers. Anything that's decent you have to pay crazy money for. Yeah, like I paid, I think it was $2,700, which is a steal, because most of the Oldsmobiles go for like $7,000, which for one that's in perfect shape is good, but yeah, for a Canadian car that's not rusted all the way through, that's pretty damn good. And that was also in 2021, where the prices of classic cars were just going through the roof, so everybody was bored. Now, granted, I did have to do work on it, but still, mostly been just ignition parts and stuff like that. It's taught me an awful lot about cars. Like, before I bought the Oldsmobile, I had no clue how to, tune a carburetor on a car, or how to, adjust the timing on a car, how to replace a water pump. East Coast cars rust out more. You guys use salt on the roads out there. Out west, it's less of an issue. Yeah, that's what I've heard too. Out in like BC and stuff, cars last pretty long, but yeah, around here they use really strong salt. So like I've seen some cars that are only like 5 years old and they already have really bad rust. Does it have the rear wheel covers? No, the back wheels are open. I liked owning an aluminum body car for the past few years. My last steel car was a VW Passat, and by the end of its life, the winter salt had really done a number on it. Well, that was the problem my family had. We had a 2013 4Runner for a while. Great truck, but you know, even though a Toyota can do 400,000 miles, it only had probably about 180,000 miles on it. So like for a Toyota, it was basically broken in. But the chassis had just corroded so badly that we needed to sell it because it was just like, this isn't going to last. And it was making the car treacherous. Even though the frame was still strong, heat shields were falling off of it, and it was chewing through its own brake lines because the metal around the brake line gets rough and then it vibrates and it chews holes in it. So we were just like, we need to sell this thing. I gave $1,500 for my 1994 F-150. Not that much to look at, but it runs. Those 3 CI 6 cylinders are pretty bulletproof. I've heard that too. Does it have wheel covers on the rear? No wheel covers. The wheels are just open. Oldsmobile Reveal 1. Well, if you want to see what it looks like roughly, you can watch my 1950s Lionel repair video. At one point I have to replace a bulb and I go in the Oldsmobile to get it, so you can see it briefly there, but that's about it. I'm not used to seeing SMT not in the general basement. Yeah, it's new. The frames on Toyotas are crap. I tend to agree. They don't seem to last very long. I mean, I've seen American cars rust out pretty bad, but for some reason, even though Toyota generally I think makes really good engines and transmissions, I don't find that the frames hold up very well. It also depends on how you maintain stuff though. Like, I know some guys that don't have rust because they grease the bottom of, like, they spray the bottom of their truck with used motor oil so it coats everything, and you know, they wash all the salt off it often. So you know, if you keep on top of it, you can prevent it, but kind of a pain in the neck. My Tacoma is going great in salt-ridden Jersey. That's good. It depends on the steel alloy used. Lower quality steel rusts out quickly. Yeah, well, and also just the amount of dissimilar metals. Honestly, my Toyota is one of the worst cars I've ever experienced, not reliability-wise, but the car just sucks. Well, the reason I really like Toyota is because, again, I find they make cars with really reliable engines and transmissions. So, like, I like that about. My family has owned a lot of Toyotas over the years, and, you know, other than the rust issues, they have been really reliable. But I don't think anybody says, hey, I want to go out and buy a cool car. I think I should go get a Toyota. Like, to me, you buy a Toyota because you want something that's going to reliably get you to work or get jobs done, like... but not, like, I don't know. I don't find Toyota makes a lot of very exciting cars. I think the only exception would maybe be, like, the Supra. Even that would not be my first choice if I was into sports cars. Toyota is the Athearn Blue Box of the car world. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Why does the Santa Fe look so familiar? Is it the same one that you got in the shady eBay listing? Yeah, you have a good eye. I ended up adding a plow, not a plow, but a pilot to the front and some handrails, and I weathered it, but it's been holding up pretty well for an engine that was in awful shape when I got it. I'm quite impressed. I have a Toyota with 420,000 kilometers on it, still going strong. That's quite impressive. I'm glad your layout wasn't completely destroyed. I am too. Does the Olds have a name? I know it's a bit cringy to give your car a name, but sometimes I think a nickname would suit it. I just call it the Regency. I don't know. I'm not against naming vehicles. There's some people that come up with names for their vehicles, and I feel like it really suits the car. But I don't know if I ever have. I have a 2015 Ram, no issues with the engine or transmission, almost to 300,000 miles. They must have been building that one on a Monday. That's pretty impressive. Old cars kind of earn their own names. I had a car, I named it POS. Except for the yard van, the one is a Chevy Tahoe. That one has been a problem child. I had a 94 4Runner, had 387,000 miles when we sold it. I think the best Toyota my family ever had was a 2006 Highlander. Again, not a very exciting car, but we drove the snot out of that thing and it never gave us trouble. And then we ended up gifting it to my grandmother, who then proceeded, I think, to put probably another 100,000 kilometers on it. I think that'd be like, I don't know, maybe 70,000 miles on it. And then she sold it to a local guy, and I haven't seen it for about a year, but last year I still see them driving around in it. It probably has about 350,000 kilometers on it. That would be my guess at this point. It might be over 400, but yeah, absolutely solid vehicle. If you can find a low mileage Land Cruiser, those things are bulletproof. I feel like they would be reliable. I'm pretty sure some of those use 24 volt systems though, which I don't know. I have a bit of a hard time wrapping my head around. Have you ever seen the test Top Gear did with the Toyota Hilux? I did. That was very impressive. I'm not a very big fan of Whistling Diesel, but he also did a video where he did some endurance testing on a Hilux, and he was towing something ridiculous like a trailer with a full-size tractor on it or something. Like something that would overload almost any regular type of vehicle, and it was handling it. Like, they really are tough. Not to mention, Rail Crew put cheap tires on it and would only go through a set of tires every month too. My supervisor finally convinced them to put 10-ply tires. No issues ever since. My 1985 Buick LeSabre is the best driving car I ever had. Do you think you would ever own a railroad speeder if you found one for sale? If it was at a good price, I would consider buying it. The only thing is that there's not a lot of track to drive it on around here. There's still some abandoned track up in Wakefield, Quebec. And there's a little bit of abandoned track in Gatineau. The other line is not used, but it is considered active, so I couldn't use it on that. But that's about it. I don't think there's any other abandoned lines in the area. So I mean, would I like to have one? Absolutely, but you know, like a good question would be, where would I actually run it? My first car was a 1984 Trans Am Night Rider. That'd be cool. Rail speeders are made from hand cars. Well, I've watched some videos on speeder maintenance and stuff. I feel like I work on a lot of two-stroke engines, like, again, lots of outboards and things like that. And I know a lot of old speeders are also two-strokes, so I feel like that part would be... I think the maintenance would mostly be something I'd be capable of. But yeah, I'm trying to find track to run it on. I daily drove a 91 GMC truck, just hit 377,000 kilometers. Wow. There was a guy, I think he was in the Toronto area selling a speeder, which was homemade. He wanted 1,500 for it. It had a genuine Honda 6, I think it was a Honda 6.6 or something, one of those small engines, not in working order. I considered buying it, but I was like, I'm going to need to get a trailer for it, and I've also heard that some speeder clubs will not allow homemade equipment to join the group. They'll only allow name brand speeders like Faramonts and Sylvesters and things like that. My first car was the principal's car from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, a 1987 Dodge Aries. Had 187,000 miles on it when I got it, and it was a Chicago car. That's pretty good. Are you sure it was a two-stroke? I remember it was a 2-horsepower engine on it. I think some speeders are 4 strokes, but I'm pretty sure most of the older ones are 2 strokes. Talking to me about browsing through old cars is going to get in trouble. I saw a nice 1964 Chevy C10 pickup for $25,000. Well, that's the problem. Like, Facebook Marketplace is the worst, because you go on Marketplace to find, like, something practical, like, oh, I need to find a new refrigerator or something like that. And then, you know, if you've already been looking for vehicles, it will just recommend you random stuff. So it'll be like suggestions of today's picks. And then something cool comes up, and it's at a good price, and it's like, that's... I think that I've been recommended 2 vehicles through Facebook Marketplace, which I ended up buying like that. The Regency I was looking for, but I have a 1969 Sea Ray boat, and one day I was just out at the farm, and my sister was doing something with her horse, so I just hopped on Facebook, and it's like suggestions for you, and it's like a 1969 Sea Ray, 115 horse, $500 with the trailer. It was like, oh, that's too good to be true. I must have it. So I bought that, didn't pick it up until the spring of the next year, because it was out at some guy's cottage and it got snowed in. Yeah, the snowmobile was also another impulse purchase, because it popped into my recommended feed, and I was like, that looks like fun. Oh, somebody donated another $20 to the Movember Foundation. Thanks to whoever you are. My first car was a 1939 Ford Coupe. I loved it. That's a real classic car. I saw a video recently. There was like these two guys driving a Model T, and they took it to a Ford dealership to have an oil change done on it. And it looks so funny seeing this Model T roll into like a modern dealership and go up on the hoist. It's a cool video. Can you run your PA Delaware Hudson? Yeah, sure. I don't know if this thing needs to get serviced, but I find lately it's been running really sluggishly. That was a great video. One of the things about it was that the dealer actually had an old Ford mechanic who knew how to fix it. I've heard stories about that because one thing I found out, like the locks on my Oldsmobile don't work. But sometimes if you take a classic car to a dealership, if they have a tech who's been there for long enough, they'll agree to do work even if it's an older car. Speaking of Marketplace, I'm trying to find some Mallard Flying Scotsman for Hornby. I don't know if I can find them still today. I was wondering, do you know where I can find a Hornby Mallard? I don't think they're rare. I bet if you went on eBay, you could find one. I would be careful, though, because I'm pretty sure, I think it was a Mallard I fixed up for a friend, and it had the nylon gears that were all cracked. Oh, wait, but that was the Bachman. Yeah, for a Hornby Mallard, I don't know if there's any problems with them, but just be careful. Hey, it's Mike Muritz. Welcome. There's an old short form film from the Canadian National Film Board. I believe it's called The Speeder. It's a pretty cool short film that shows a CN line from the 60s or so. It's on YouTube. I know the one you're talking about. That's The Railrodder. I think it was made in 1967 or something, but that's actually a pretty cool film locally because they show Ottawa back when the trains used to go directly into the downtown, and they also show Wakefield briefly, which is the other town I was mentioning earlier. And if you go to Wakefield today, which is where the Wakefield train actually used to run, the Swedish E2, which I was talking about, it looks exactly the same. You should find an old wooden Chris Craft boat and restore it. They're sexy. The Chris Crafts, from what I understand, are kind of like the best of the best, although I really like the Sea Ray. It's a pretty slick boat, and even though the technology is 1969, it handles very well. Does anyone know why I just got notified of this live stream? Anyway, hi. I don't know. Notifications, I find sometimes for some people seem to pop up later. Sometimes that will happen for posts. So like when I did the Veterans Day post, I had a few people be like, you didn't post this on Veterans Day. And I was like, no, check the date. It was posted on Veterans Day. But some people get a notification that says like I just posted, even when it was a day or two ago. I don't know why that happens. Bachmans are very troublesome, often have cracked gears. Sometimes they don't want to run. Yeah, I've dealt with a lot of those. I just got the notification as well. Well, it's good to see We're bringing in some new people now. No idea why that's happening now, but welcome. Shark nose is slowing down. You might be right. The current draw is low though, so I don't think it's overheating. We'll find out. You have a classic car, a boat, some trains. Do you think you'll ever get a flying machine? Maybe not a plane, but probably not in the near future. My dream one day would be to own a Cessna. Get a pilot's license and own a Cessna, but that's not going to be at all for the foreseeable future. I don't know. That's a very pie in the sky idea, but I would way rather own a Cessna than a helicopter. I don't like helicopters that much. I mean, a cool piece of equipment, but the thing I like about a Cessna is that if your engine shuts off, I know some people who are pilots and they say you just glide. It's like if you're in a helicopter and your engine cuts out. Give it more power. That's what it needs. Helicopters and motorcycles are my pick for the most dangerous vehicles to operate. Helicopter rotor goes out, you have what's called auto rotation. You still have enough rotor movement to safely glide the aircraft down. Shark nose is stalking. I think it's running okay. It just seems a little low on power. Find the brushes on these things. Yeah. I don't know. The Rocos are good locomotives, but their motors are a little finicky. Cracked gears is caused by stress for the install or oil causing shrinkage plastic nylon. I don't know if that's supposed to be a question or not, but I find most of the time when gears crack, it's usually because they put them as an interference fit around metal parts. Mixing metal and plastic I just don't find is a recipe for success. Like, you open up an Athearn and almost all the parts are plastic. You open up a Varney, almost all the parts are metal. It's when you combine the two that trouble starts to occur. Even in the Athearn, I know the worm gear is made out of metal in most cases, but it's metal. It's a metal worm gear wrapped around a metal drive shaft, so you know they're compatible. I rode with a helicopter pilot who did the engine cutoff and the auto rotation, and it works, otherwise I wouldn't be typing this. Well, I guess if it can go down, I would just be way more scared. Like, how much control do you have if it's in auto rotation? Like, does it go straight down slowly, or can you still actually guide it somewhere? Because the thing about a Cessna is apparently you can glide incredibly far even if you're at a low altitude. Auto rotation, it's a roller coaster ride. Here's a question for you. If you ever own a property in the future, would you ever own a fire truck? There's a lot of old fire trucks on Facebook Marketplace. They look pretty tasty. I mean, it would be cool to own a fire truck. I don't know what I would do with it, though. It's not very much room inside of it. I think I'd be more inclined to own an old bus. You can control an autopilot, just not as much as an airplane. Well, okay. We should do a rail fanning video. I'll leave the rail fanning to the experts out there. Be like the Rapido guy and buy a GM fishbowl. Yeah, that would be nice. It would kind of be a better fit. My family has a lot of history with buses. Out in Sudbury, they owned a couple lines that leased school buses, and they also were heavily involved in Greyhound. One pretty funny story was back, I think it was in the 50s. My granddad was 15 years old, and at the Greyhound bus depot, he would help out, like with the mechanics, and just kind of sweep up and stuff and help clean up. Anyway, one night, they radio in and they say, we've got a bus full of people. We're broken down in the middle of nowhere. We need somebody to come pick us up. And they had no drivers on hand. They were all out. So my granddad at the age of 15 just said, well, I guess I'm going to have to drive the bus. And this is back when buses didn't have power steering. He was a big guy at 15, but yeah, he had to drive a bus to go rescue a deserted one. That would never fly. If you tried to do that today, I'm sure you'd end up in the news. But back then, you know, everyone was just get her done however you can. It was actually a pretty funny thing because, yeah, my granddad, he grew up on a farm. So at the age of 12, he was driving an old military Jeep. And then, yeah, his family was running the buses. So he had lots of experience driving buses. But in the 80s, he had become a executive at Transport Canada, and I guess that one thing the airports used to do is they would have some of the executives from Transport Canada come out and they would try to drive the fire engine around the track just for fun, and it was supposed to be kind of like make them look foolish because they get these executives in, they had no clue how to operate machines and they would screw it up. He got in it. And it was just second nature, and he drove it around, and everybody was quite surprised. But again, he'd been doing that since he was 12. It's not the fall that gets you, it's the sudden stop. Huh. Do you think model hump yard would ever work, or is it too complex? I think it's been done before. Trying to get the right grade and electrifying the switches would probably take some time, but no, I think that's completely feasible. The only thing that I think could probably fail is that if you made the grade too steep and the cars picked up too much speed, if they bumped into each other, they might derail. And obviously, if the grade isn't steep enough, the cars might get stuck. But I'm sure somebody could do that if they were really motivated. We have one at our club. It works great, but the conductor spends all of his time chasing cars to prevent that. I went to a vintage police car show a couple months ago. Let me tell you, driving an old police car around puts you at a larger target than an old fire truck. I would agree with that. My main concern with owning a cop car is that it still kind of looks like a cop car, and so you know, you're gonna get stuck behind people driving the speed limit. It was really funny, and me and my sister were coming back from Maine last summer, and there's this old Crown Vic. I think it's somewhere in New Hampshire out in the country, and it's rusted out and stuff. It's clear that it is not part of the force anymore, but it kind of, I guess, from a distance looks like that. So I was driving along, and everyone's flashing their lights at me, and I come around the corner, and I see it, and I'm like, oh, come on, guys. I actually knew some people. I didn't know them personally, but they would come to the restaurant I used to work at quite often. They had an old cop car, but they would be kind of mean because there's this large hill. So you come up over the hill, but you can't see to the top perfectly because there's a bit of a curve. And they would park. Their house was at the top of the hill, so they would park their ex-cop car, at the top. That way, when people would come up over the hill speeding, they would think there was a trap there. And then they'd slam on the brakes. I don't know if one of these trucks is dragging on the ground, but I feel like I keep hearing something catching in these switches. Have you ever done switching operations on this layout? Not really. I did a couple times back when the Hershey factory was connected to it, but that was about it. Once I get a proper staging yard, it's gonna be good. Planning on bringing the crossing signal to your house? Yeah, I don't see why not. It'll probably be in that corner over there with the AC/DC poster, or that corner there. We'll have to see. Are you in the new house? Yeah. The guy at the front door of this house doesn't look like he likes his new digs. Well, this is an incomplete scene because before I had a guy and he was doing some work on his car, and so it was supposed to be like his wife coming out to check in on him. Yeah, I can kind of see without that context. Someone just looks kind of pissed. He wants his dang car back. I'll have to find it. What are your plans with the Hershey factory since you're nervous about moving it? I don't have a plan for it. Again, I'm hoping to donate it to Hershey's or the Smith Falls Heritage Museum. If I can, I'll probably try to find a home for it here, but I'm going to have to probably reinforce it or something before I move it. I'm sure it can be moved. It's just not something I'm super excited to do. Are you going to put up another mural to go along with the autumn backdrop? I've been thinking about it. I'm not sure where. You have any steam locomotives? Not too many at the moment here, but in general I do. I just haven't moved them from the old house yet. 3 hours. 3 hours and 20 minutes, yeah. Do you ever put trains under the Christmas tree? I'm doing that with the old American Flyer Blue this year. That's a nice idea. I haven't for a couple of years just because things have been so hectic around Christmas, but yeah, we have before. When I was younger, I used to put a loop of Bachmann Easy Track around the tree and pull out a couple of my steam locomotives. And I did a video one year where I set up a Lionel train around one of the trees. My mom was doing a 1950s Christmas theme, so it had the tinsel and the larger incandescent bulbs and everything. It looked great. I don't know how many of you have messed around with this feature, but there's something called Google Trends where you can basically search up a topic and it will show kind of how many people are looking up that topic at a given time. And for model trains, it's kind of like consistent, and then December rolls around and there's a spike, and then it drops back down in January, and then it happens every year. Like if you look up like the trends for HO model train or O-scale model train, where to find model trains. So it's just funny that you get a bunch of people out there every Christmas who want to add a model train around their tree. Have you found any pleasant surprises at your new home? Well, I found this pretty sweet looking AC/DC poster and this card for Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Other than that, there have been some tools I've found. I found a, I forget the name of it. It's a tool for cutting edges. A router? Is that it? Yeah, a lot of good tools around the place. Just the other day, actually, I'll go show everybody this because it's kind of cool. I don't know. There we go. Camera's back to normal. Yeah. I found this yesterday. You know, I don't know how good. Well, actually, that does work, but I don't know, like, how great this stuff is in terms of condition, but a bunch of, like, cool old tools. Those are kind of screwed up. I wonder when those are from. Hey, look, some more Mastercraft stuff. Never seen that brand before. I think that this might have been stolen because this is not the initials of the previous owner, unless it was a previous owner. What the heck? Probably build like a pretty cool looking zip line down here. I don't know what that is. Yeah, the rest of it is pretty much just screwdrivers and things like that. But I'm not going to complain about free tools. Can opener. I haven't seen one like that. Broken vice grips just have an arm removed. Moved wrong. Easy fix. Yeah? somebody just over tighten this or something and it can't go back into place? Oh yeah. I still feel like something might be missing. No, that's fine. The old one is from the 50s. The spring is missing, yeah. Oh, wait. Well, there's the spring. It's just, I think it must have just rusted through. Whoop. The Waffle House needs a brawl scene or robbery. I think that is why Waffle Houses are known as being so resistant to storms and things like that. I think there's already so much crazy stuff going on inside the store that there could be a hurricane going by and they don't even notice. It depends on the location, though. I think Waffle House is not actually as sketchy as some people think. I think they just get that reputation because they're open 24 hours a day, which means, you know, in the wee hours of the night, the riffraff stumbles in, but, you know, during the day, I don't think there's as much trouble. We don't have Waffle House in Canada, but we do have Zach's in Ottawa, which is open 24 hours a day, and I've been there late at night a couple times, and yeah. My dad knows some of the people who work there pretty well, and we've heard some stories. Storms avoid the Waffle House. That probably is it, honestly. There aren't many places open 24 hours a day. Yeah, exactly. It's like you open a place for 24 hours and, you know, who else at 3 a.m. is going to show up but the people who have partied a little too hard or other folks. I found a 1980s Chevy step van on Facebook Marketplace. Decided to check it out as a rescue truck with lights and sirens stuff in CT. Do you prefer being referred to as SMT or your real name? I'm not really bothered one way or another, but I feel like Harrison is, I don't know, a little bit more accurate. Closing shift at Walmart can be wild. I did that for a summer job years back. You can get some interesting people in there. Well, back in the 90s, my mom was working for a pretty major cosmetics company at one of the malls in Ottawa, and they would do something. It was December Madness or something, I don't know, but it was basically like around Christmas, they would keep the mall open an extra 2 hours, so instead of the mall closing at like 10, it would close at 12 for people who were doing like last minute Christmas shopping. It never really worked out because most people who were doing their Christmas shopping would do so before 10, but keeping the mall open another 2 hours would invite some pretty interesting characters in there, and yeah, there's some stories about that. Can I ask all of you, what item does everybody look for at train shows? I'm trying to help out a friend with his railroad 3D printing business. Thank you all. Hello, SMT. I feel like if you were trying to start a 3D printing business, what might be a good idea is offer to make things that no manufacturer is making. Like, offer to do some custom stuff for people. Like, send you what they want your friend to model, have him make a model, print it out, sell it to them, and then, I don't know, maybe if there's something that keeps, like, a reoccurring sale, then you'll know what your market is. Because I feel like if you just try to, like, make a bunch of different products, like, and just throw eggs to the wall until something sticks, maybe you'll be successful, but a lot of manufacturers out there who are covering different things, so it's hard to say. Are you gonna miss the old railway? I don't really feel like it's been destroyed. It's just, it just needs to kind of be put back the way it was. But, I'm feeling pretty jazzed about the new layout. I think it's gonna work out well. Do you have any Great Northern stuff with you? I don't think I do at the moment. What is the best train set brand for getting into model railroading? If you have the means, I would probably say Walthers. Otherwise, I would go with, just get a cheap Bachmann set. They're easier to find. Judging from the setup you have now, you're going to be rearranging the layout and the tables, or are you going to recreate the setup you had at the old house? So for the main section of the layout, it's going to be very similar. So we're just going to have the countryside with the industrial side there. The biggest difference is going to be that instead of the mountain layout being on this side, it's going to be on that side. But there's also going to be benchwork surrounding the entire layout. So it is going to be overall different, but the main section is going to be relatively similar. What may work is if he makes items that are no longer made. I do think there are items for older sets which are no longer in production, which would be profitable. Yeah, parts would probably be a really good business, actually. I know there's some people on eBay that are making parts for vintage locomotives, but there's not a lot of aftermarket manufacturers out there. Like, I would say, like, one of the most common emails I get from people is, hey, I need a gear for my Bachmann split chassis, or you name it. And it's like, where do I find parts? And I usually tell people, well, you can look on eBay. And the reaction usually is, well, yeah, I already know that. I'm asking, do you know any parts dealers? And there's not really any out there. The only exception to that is River Restore for the old River Rossies. But yeah, parts are very rare, and they're usually quite expensive. So if you're willing to make them at a reasonable price, you might be able to make some cash for that. Have you heard of Three Dog Night? Yeah, I have. They're the ones that made that song, I Want to Be Your Dog. I feel like they made another one too. Is it Road to Shangri-La or something? Joy to the world. Shambhala, that's it. There's a guy at my club that runs a lot of HON30. He said there's a lot of stuff ran small production. Joy to the world, black and white, Shambhala, never been to Spain, old-fashioned love song. if I can quickly check it, what the fundraiser is up to. I think I'll probably finish off the live stream soon, but I just want to find out what we've actually done here. Total raise $203. Wow, good work, everybody. Bon nuit, SMT. Do you have any of your Walther's Trainline engines with you? I was running a Walther's engine earlier. I don't know if it's Trainline or Mainline. The show must go on. I should get Celine Dion out here and she could sing "The show must go." The show. I'm getting too tired. The show must still go on instead of "My heart will go on." Another anonymous donation to the Movember fund. Show must go on. That was another song. You need to do a 24-hour live stream where you leave your trains running, the camera filming. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? I have thought about doing an all-nighter live stream one day, or doing a 24-hour live stream. That would be pretty crazy. I think I'd need to probably get some help from people to take over the camera and build some sort of a cooking facility, and in the middle of running trains, be like frying up eggs for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What's your opinion on the Union Pacific Norfolk Southern merger? I don't know a crazy amount about it. It's probably not a great thing from a competition standpoint that that's happening, but what can you do? It's what's gonna happen. The worst derailment is the Acela, hands down. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Google says the Union Pacific Norfolk Southern merger's shareholders approved the proposed merger valued at approximately $85 billion, which would create the first transcontinental railroad in the United States. You remember the time you put a sparkler on one of your trains and had it run around the layout? Yeah, that was for New Year's one year. You run a lifelike, sure. That one started well. How much rolling stock do you have? I don't know, to be honest. I have more locomotives than I do rolling stock for it to pull, that's for sure. I don't care what anybody says, it's the right ratio to have. Good way to test how flame resistant your house is. Or your layout is, yeah. Sharknose said, yeah. At least we know it must be okay, because I think if there was a motor issue, it probably would have overheated by now. And you run an Australian engine. I wish I could. I just don't have any here at the moment. We only have 25 days till Christmas. The year went by fast, but it was a good one. Yeah, happy December 1st, everybody. And we're out of November, which I'm pretty happy about. November, I find, is a bit of a kind of a depressing month. I'm not gonna lie. The days like just start getting shorter, and I know in the States you have Thanksgiving, so that's something cool. But in Canada, Thanksgiving's like a while, so there's just kind of like a gap. But now we get to look forward to Christmas and all the fun stuff in the winter, and winter solstice, which is something I'm coming to appreciate more and more every year. How many citizens did you lose? Not too many, I don't think. Most of the Mantua Tyco steam engines are metal. As long as they're properly oiled, they'll outlast any plastic models. Yeah, Mantua Tycos are very tough. The only issue I've ever had with them is the washers, the thrust washers, go bad, and then the engine will run a lot better in reverse than it will going forward. It's still November where I am. I find the time change between different areas weird. Like, I find it weird on New Year's how some people are already in the new year and others are still in the previous year at the same time. I remember one year, this has happened twice to our family. We go over to a friend's house for New Year's, right? And they put on like a broadcast of, I don't know, somewhere like in LA, of them doing the New Year's countdown, and it's like the wrong channel. And one year it's like, boy, they're gonna have a really short time to get ready for the countdown, and then everyone's like looking at their phones here, and it's like 1 minute away from 12 o'clock, and it ends up not coming through on the broadcast because it was from a different time zone. That's happened twice. How's Nerfcat? He's no longer with us, unfortunately. If the Earth were flat, we'd all be in the new year at the same time. Sorry I kept leaving, but did anyone notice he put Movember instead of November? That's intentional. It's a charity. What do you use to clean your track? I've been trying to find a good way, but my Walther's car does not do a good job. You can find a track bright. Pico sells them. You just run it over the top of your track. I find it works pretty well. There are also track cleaning fluids, which you can buy. I haven't worked with as many of those, but it's another option. I'm dumb. Oh, that's not a ridiculous conclusion. It does look like a typo, but yeah, it is intentional. It wouldn't be the first time I did a typo, though. There was one time I started a live stream, and I instead of live, I accidentally typed lice, and everybody started joining in and saying, "You're having a lice stream? What do you mean? Like, you got lice and are still doing a live or something?" And I had to go correct it. I never heard the end of that. There's still people. That happened like, I don't know, 5 years ago, and I still have people saying, what do you dream? Someone from my church set up an HO railroad recently. The guy bought the stuff and used steel brush to clean the track. Oh no! I wanted to slam my face against the wall with how bad that advice was. Wait, so somebody told them to use steel wool on their track? I don't know which is worse, running your trains on carpet or cleaning your track with steel wool. We should have some sort of like an Olympic sport for destroying locomotives, and it could be like a competition. There's team carpet, there's team steel wool, team WD-40. I bet a lot of people would like that one. And we just see which will destroy an engine fastest. My money would probably be on carpet flooring, but I bet that steel wool. I don't know. The steel wool might destroy it faster, because if it gets in the motor, it will bugger up the commutator something fast. Not steel wool, a giant steel brush, like for cleaning a grill. Oh no. Yeah, that would probably mess up the heads of your track pretty bad. Doesn't steel wool break track? Well, it's probably not great from an abrasiveness standpoint, but the big problem with steel wool is that as you clean with it, the little fibers of steel fall on the rails, and your locomotive has magnets in it, so as you drive the engine over, the little steel fibers get sucked up and they go in the motor, and then once they get in the motor, they wreak havoc on it. I've seen some engines where the motor's packed with the steel wool shavings, and it will ruin a model pretty quick. Team white vinegar and salt. That would probably do a locomotive in pretty fast. Construction dust. Yeah, like sawdust. That would probably gum up an engine pretty good. I personally use an eraser to clean my track. I've tried that. It hasn't worked for me, but maybe it wasn't a good type of eraser. Back in the 40s and 50s, Lindsay put mesh vents on their motors to keep steel wool out because so many people were using it. It's a pretty clever way to prevent that. Even like a barbecue brush, though. Like I don't know why they still. Maybe they don't sell metal barbecue brushes, but my only advice to anybody out there is if you have a steel brush for your barbecue, throw it out. They're very dangerous. A lot of people don't know that. If you clean your grill with a steel brush and one of the pieces of steel ends up in your food, that can make somebody very sick. You need an ink eraser. Oh, yeah, I was trying to use like a pencil eraser. I'll have to try that. How's the move going so far? Obviously a good chunk of the layout's out here. Yeah, it's all overall going well. Sanding / steel wool creates scratches in the rail too, creating points of electrical arcing between the rails and the locomotive. That's a good point. Alright, well, just before I finish off the live stream, I think I'll add my own donation. That way we can round this off to a solid 250 American dollars for Movember. I'll put, yeah, we'll do the 50. Show me, sure. I'm glad the camera wasn't on my screen. I just realized my credit card information just popped up when I did that. Oh well, yeah, so... That's weird. For some reason, my $50 donation only worked out to 243. I don't know why, but either way, I'm happy with the work we did. Thank you so much for everybody who joined this evening to donate to that cause. And yeah, I think I'll call it a night here. It's great finally getting things going, and there's going to be a lot more in the not so distant future once I actually start to get more operations going here. So I really appreciate everybody sticking with me through this slightly more dysfunctional version of the layout I currently have. I'll read a few last comments. For track, I use old pieces of jeans strapped around some wood. Well, it's not stupid if it works. I should try that. Something I actually have done a couple times is I use a piece of cork. It's not like Mondo effective, but it will shine up the rails. Oh, another $20 dono. Thanks to whoever that was. Awesome. Anyway, call it a night there.